but I'm here, and we're happy to have you all. I'm going to pass it to Mr. McBroom to do some introductions.
First, we have the sign-in sheet for public comment. This is for comments that are made that are not directly involving any of the cases. I notice all of these have case numbers written beside them. So if you're wanting to speak either in opposition to or in support of a case today, then this sheet would not apply. So you'll just need to wait till the hearing for that particular case and speak. Is there anyone else that signed the sheet that does not apply to them? They're not here for a particular case? Very good. Good afternoon. The Metropolitan Short-Term Rental Appeals Board is now in session for its regularly scheduled meeting of June 24th, 2026. I am Short-Term Rental Property Chief Bonnell McBroom III, and I'll be presenting the cases to the board for review in today's public hearing. At this time, I would ask everyone to either turn off their cell phones or put them on silent as to not disrupt today's meeting. The procedure will be for staff to introduce the case record. At the conclusion of our presentation, the appellant will present their case to the board along with any person in support. If there is opposition to a case, the board will then hear from those parties. After the opposition has presented their testimony, the appellant will have a period for rebuttal. The board in their rules provides for cases without opposition 5 minutes total for the appellant, including members of the public speaking in support of the appeal, to present their case and supporting comments. For cases that have opposition, the rules provide that the appellant, including members of the public speaking in support of the appeal, 10 minutes total for their presentation and rebuttal of the opposition's presentation. The appellant must reserve a portion of their allotted 10 minutes for their rebuttal. For members of the public speaking in opposition, 10 minutes is provided. This is 10 minutes total for all speakers combined and not 10 minutes for each speaker. For members of the public that want to submit comments to be entered into the record prior to the meeting that are either in support of or opposition to an appeal, the comments must be submitted to the board staff no later than 5 days prior to the public hearing. Those comments can be sent to strboard@nashville.gov. Documentation supporters or opponents wish to provide to the board after the deadline can be presented to the board members by providing 8 copies at the public hearing. However, the board may elect to defer cases in order to review any materials received after the deadline. The Metro Code requires that these proceedings be taped. Therefore, it is imperative that anyone addressing the board come forward, speak into the microphone, identify yourself, and then make your presentation. It should be noted that if it is found that anyone has presented false or misleading testimony to the board that would have affected the board's decision, any approval may be revoked at a later date by means of a show cause hearing. The board will go through the cases set for public hearing today. After both sides of the case presentations are made, the board will discuss and vote on the case. The board is vested with the power to act on these cases before us today under the provisions as outlined in section 6.28.035 of the Metropolitan Code. The code requires 4 members of the 7-member board to be present to constitute quorum. The board rules require a majority vote in the affirmative of the members present to grant the appellant's application. In the event that the majority vote is not achieved, the case will remain on the board's agenda for the next regularly scheduled public hearing. Applications that fail to receive a majority affirmative vote at the next regularly scheduled public hearing shall be deemed denied by operation of law. Any aggrieved party may, within 60 days of the entry of an entry of the order stating a decision of the board resulting from an appeal hearing, appeal the finding of the board under common law of writ of certiorari in accordance with TCA 27-9-101 and following to the Chancery Court within the same 60-day period. After that time has elapsed, the board's decision becomes final. No further action can be taken. If you are an appellant and your case is granted, it will be necessary for you to obtain the permit for which you have applied. It should be noted that the permit must be obtained within 2 years for the board approval to remain valid. I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order. All appellants have been notified as required by the code, and all effective property owners have been notified, and the legal notification sign requirements have been met as required by the code. Before we move on, we want to take a chance to take an opportunity to see if there's any elected officials that wish to speak to the board today. Seeing none, we're ready for our first case, which is 2026-014. This is 3679 Rich Briar Circle, Sahil Dasawat. You may come forward, sir.
Yeah, and just to clarify, feel free to take a seat. Mr. McBroom will walk through the case summary provided by Metro. And then when he is done, we may have questions for him. Then you will have 5 minutes to present if there's no opposition, 10 minutes if there is opposition.
Is there opposition for this case? Then we'll have 10 minutes. Yes. You can have a seat, sir. And when you address the board, you'll just need to activate your microphone. But not until after this case has been presented. Okay, the property operated as a short-term rental property without obtaining a permit, and the permit application was denied as a result. This is a R10 zone district where only owner-occupied permits are available. This is governed by BL 2024-478, Section 6.28.030.8.5.L.7. 2 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws. Upon the determination of the zoning administrator or zoning administrator's designee that the short-term rental property is operated without having obtained a permit, there shall be a waiting period of 1 year from the date of such determination by the zoning administrator or designee for the property to become eligible for an STRP permit. The board has discretion under BL 2023-136. December 18th of 2025, the appellant acquired the property at 3679 Rich Briar Circle, Nashville, Tennessee, 37211. January 5th of 2026, the first and second of 3 Airbnb ads were posted online. The ads were titled The Scarlet Room at Graceland in Nashville and Graceland in Nashville Tea Room, respectively. January 16th, 2026, the 2 Airbnb ads were identified and matched to the property at 3679 Rich Briar Circle by Metro's compliance contractor, Veronica's Host Compliance. February 17th of 2026, a third Airbnb ad was posted, the Elvis Room at Graceland in Nashville. At this point, Veronica's Host Compliance had record of 1 documented stay for December 2025, 8 documented stays for January of 2026, and 11 documented stays for February of 2026. March 12th, 2026, the address for this property was on the monthly list for March of properties advertising and operating as short-term rental without a permit supplied by Veronica's Host Compliance. Inspector John Phelps verified that the advertisements were posted and that there were documented stays, and Inspector Phelps sent the owner a notice of violation. March 23rd of 2026, the appellant submitted an owner-occupied STRP permit application. Inspector Robert Osborne processed the application. He saw that Inspector Phelps had sent a notice of violation due to the property having advertised and operated before applying for the STRP permit. March 24th, 2026, the permit application was denied. March 31st of 2026, the appeal was filed. The website advertisements calendars were changed to a 30-night minimum stay. On April 29th of 2026, as of this writing, there are 18 documented stays in March, 4 documented stays in April. There are no complaints on either the Hub Nashville or the STRP hotline. June 9th, 2026, as of this writing, our office has received 2 letters via email in opposition to granting the appeal.
Okay, the appellant, you can go ahead and start. If you'll give us your name and your address, and you will have 10 minutes. You can save as much as you want for rebuttal to the opposition. And do we have a clock or? Okay. Ms. Buffer is the timekeeper for us today. And any questions that we ask as a board will not count against your time.
Okay, thank you. Is this mic activated? Okay. Well, thank you, Mrs. Williams. I am Sahil Dasawat. I occupied the property, and I and my business partner moved here from South Carolina around November, and then our plan was to buy a house and then start doing Airbnb on the side. And my business partner she's great. She's a great host. She has been doing Airbnb for almost 8 years in South Carolina and never had a problem. So I thought of making her as my business partner in this business. Long story short, we did not know that a short-term rental permit is required. And as soon as we were notified that there needs to be a short-term rental permit, we stopped all of our short-term rental business. Some of our past customers, just in those in the first month, somebody wanted to come back and wanted to stay, but we had to deny all those applications just because we found out that there needs to be a short-term rental permit. Nashville being such a big metropolitan tourist area, that is why I and my business partner decided on moving from South Carolina to Nashville, just because we thought, hey, Nashville gets a lot of visitors. We can just run a nice business, and it can be a really lucrative business for us. My co-host has been a super host for, as I mentioned, last 8 years or so. So that is where I decided on start. I and my business partner decided on doing the Airbnb business. Yes, we should have looked into it, but because in South Carolina, where my business partner was living, she had been doing Airbnb, and there was no problems, or there was no such thing as short-term rental permit. So that is where we decided that, we thought that, it would be similar over here as well. So that is where we messed up. But as soon as we were notified that a short-term rental permit is required to run an Airbnb business, we canceled all our business operations. And since then, we've only been hosting people that wanted to stay 30 days or longer as per the guidelines provided.
Do we have any questions from board members? Sure.
Hi, thank you so much for coming in. So when you said that you didn't know that you were supposed to get a permit, when you you got your Airbnb, so you just came and started it, like you bought a house and you just started posting it on Airbnb, not looking at anything at all?
Right. My business partner, I let her handle the posting thing because she has been a super host on Airbnb for the last 8 years or so. Mm-hmm. So that is where I thought she knew better than me. What do I know about that? So she's my co-host, and also she's a super host on Airbnb. So because of her expertise and her longevity in the business, I let her handle the situation, and we just didn't know about a permit thing, that there was a permit. And as soon as we found out there's notified by you guys that there needs to be a permit, we stopped all our business.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell.
I have a couple of questions. So, first of all, do you live at the property, or does your business partner live there?
We both lived at the property, actually.
Okay. You said you didn't have any stays after you received the notice of violation. In Metro's case summary, I'm seeing 4 stays in April, but you filed your appeal in March, so you knew in March. Do you have an explanation for those 4 stays?
So those 4 stays, I believe they were long-term stays. So they were long-term stays, and that is where they were already booked by the guests. We tried to cancel as many as possible, but Airbnb, some of them were not allowed to be canceled. So that is where we let all the people that had already booked and were already staying. We let them, as soon as they left the property. We did not host any new people.
Okay, so you said that those stays were long-term stays, but like mathematically, it's not possible that you had 4 30-night stays in 1 month.
Yes. So in April, let me think for a second, because I think those people had already booked the Airbnb, so that is why when we tried to cancel, we couldn't cancel on my end. And I wish my business partner were here to explain it better, but I think we were not able to cancel it because they had already paid, and it would be a violation with Airbnb. So as soon as those people left, we canceled all our business operations.
Okay.
And after that, you would not see anything else that there were any short-term rentals, because those people had already booked. So we tried to cancel it. We even called Airbnb, but they said, hey, people have already booked, so we can't really do it.
Okay.
Yeah. And my business partner was the one who was handling, but after that, I took matters into my own hands and just canceled everything else. So after that, you would not see anybody living short-term rentals.
Okay, so you were able to cancel other planned stays, but not these 4.
Right, so we didn't accept anybody else, because some people were even had stayed with us in the past, and they were just traveling from somewhere to Nashville, and they were like, hey, can we pay you cash and just keep it low-key? But I was like, no, we just cannot host you. Like, it's just not possible. So that is where we didn't accept any new customers. Anybody that had already booked, we tried to cancel and negotiate with Airbnb, and whatever was possible, we did cancel those. But I think there is a window or something in which you have to do that, and my business partner knows that better. So we did not accept any more new customers after that.
Okay. You said your business partner had short-term rental experience in South Carolina.
Yes.
Do you have any prior experience with short-term rentals, either in Nashville or anywhere else?
No, I bought the property, and I asked her to be my co-host because she has been in the Airbnb business, so I thought she knew better. And yes, it was a fault on both of us that we didn't look into the permit thing, but it just was such a new concept to us that we just didn't even think about that there would be a permit required.
Okay. Any questions, any other questions from board members? Okay, Mr. Kleinfelter.
Where in South Carolina did your business partner operate short-term rentals?
Aiken.
Okay, and you're saying Aiken has no regulations of short-term rentals?
That's what she did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what she did, but are you sure that Aiken doesn't have a requirement for registration of Airbnbs or of short-term rentals?
She had been a Airbnb superhost there, so I thought she knew what she was doing because she had been doing that for almost 8 years there. So based on her expertise, I hired her to be my business partner.
Okay. What she did is what you do. I mean, so it's imputed to you. The other question is, did you not get any other business license or anything else before listing it?
No, I bought the house, and
I don't know that one's required. I'm just asking.
yeah, no. To answer your question, yeah, I just bought the house, and then I had a good business partner, so I was like, okay, maybe we can make something out of it. We're living in the property itself. It'll be owner occupied, so that's how we thought about going about it.
And finally, did you list it? Did you do the paperwork with Airbnb to list it, or did she?
She did it because she was the superhost. She has been a superhost for 8 years almost, so that is where I let her handle that.
Okay.
Yes, and I once again apologize that we did not look into this because it was just a new concept that it is my first ever property. This is the first time I'm a homeowner. So I just thought, hey, why can't we just make some extra cash on the side? It will just help us out. But we should have looked into the permit thing, but we clearly just did not know about the permit thing.
Did you have another question, Ms. Bell?
I think so. So if I'm right, you got a notice at the beginning of March saying that you was in violation, but you sent the email right after that asking, can you apply for the permit? So did so at no point in time you didn't have no inkling of an idea that you did something in violation, and then also you should have had a permit in the beginning?
As soon as we got your notice, only then we found out that, oh, there's a permit required. Mm-hmm. So until things were going well, we just didn't know that a permit was required.
Okay, and it is documented stays in April, correct? Thank you. Okay.
And those the 4 stays that you mentioned, Miss Williams, they had already booked with us, and we tried to cancel, but unfortunately we couldn't cancel some because the timeline was so, they'd already booked with us, so I think Airbnb just did not allow us to cancel, and that's where we messed up. But after that, we had no customers that stayed short-term rentals. And it did take us a little bit of time in pausing everything because people had already booked with us. Mm-hmm. And we tried to cancel, hey, can you even get a hotel room or something? But it just, they'd already made plans and they'd already paid, and we tried to cancel, but it was just not feasible at the time.
Councilmember Cash?
Thanks. I'm just curious. I want to ask staff, actually, if it's okay at this time. Like when you're registering on Airbnb to post an ad, are there not any indicators on Airbnb like, hey, you should check your local permitting? I know that if somebody Googles Nashville short-term rental, the Nashville.gov site is going to come up and explain stuff, but does Airbnb ever kind of poke people to say, hey, be sure you've checked your locally what you need to do.
I can't speak to that with 100% confidence, but I do remember checking on that probably a year ago, and it seems they do have a disclaimer of some form, but you have to kind of go deep into the site to find it.
Right.
But I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, thanks.
Just to add to that, Mr. Cash, my business partner was the one who was posting it online, and she had been a superhost for 6 years, so I thought she knew better, and unfortunately, it was on us, so I do accept the blame.
And,
It's our fault.
and so at this point, she is no longer, yeah, I mean, I feel like there should have been some kind of conversation about, hey, like, what do we need to do? And maybe you had that conversation, or you just kind of let her do it. And I just feel like some sort of conversation about permitting or what are the proper steps should have taken place. And it sounds like you just kind of, she'd done it, so you kind of trusted her, and that conversation didn't happen.
Yes, so that conversation didn't happen because she had been a superhost for so many years, so I thought if anything like that was going to happen, she would have been already notified or she would be knowing about it. So it's just a matter of like unawareness is the word. Like we just weren't aware of such a term or such a thing.
And she's her business partner.
Yeah.
The permit that you're applying for, is it going to be in your name and her name, or just your name? And are you both, the two of you, on the title of the property?
Only I'm on the title of the property. She's my co-host, so I also have a job, so I go to the job. So she's generally the one at the house. So she would be the one who will be greeting the customers, talking to customers, if there were any complaints, problems, and she would be taking care of the customers. So she would be on the front-facing side, and I would be on the paying the
on
bills.
The documentation, the permit and the title, she's not on. That's what
She's
I'm
not,
asking.
no.
Right, okay, so
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to know.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Cash.
Did any of your neighbors in the neighborhood on the street come to you with any grievances at all while you were operating this Airbnb in the area?
Can you please repeat your question, Ms. Bell?
Did any of the neighbors, community members come to you personally or your business partner with any grievances about the Airbnb operating in violation in the neighborhood? And if so, how did you handle it?
Nobody came to us about any complaints or anything. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, at this time, if we have no further questions from board members, I'll ask you to take a seat in the front row there, and if the opposition will come to the table, you will be allowed to use your remaining time for a rebuttal after the opposition speaks.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you. Hello. If you'll just give us your name and your address, and then you will have 10 minutes if you need it to speak. This is a note for all opposition. As much as possible, if you can keep your comments germane to the property that we're speaking about today. I know people tend to have strong feelings about short-term rentals in general, but it's really helpful for us as a board when the opposition sticks to what's going on with the particular property we're discussing. So with that disclaimer, you can go ahead and get started.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Angela Stone. I live at 3682 Ridgebriar Circle, which is catty corner to this property.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Do you know if your mic is on?
It's green.
Oh, okay. Maybe if you pull it a little bit closer.
Better?
Great. Thank you.
Okay, do you want me to repeat or?
I think you're fine.
Okay. We bought the property that we live in 2018, my husband and two daughters. First, I want you to understand that I have no opposition towards anyone that's an entrepreneur. I also started a short-term rental business with a property in West Tennessee, had no experience, but knew to look up the regulations that were required and what licensures, if any, were needed. And so I did that and did it properly. We did not know that this was operating in the community. First, for context, you have to understand that we live in a cul-de-sac. So we didn't know that this was going on until we started seeing random, strange, staggering, drunk people on our Ring cameras at night. The neighbors that live on our street, primarily, for the most part, have been there a better part of a quarter of a century. So these are older residents, and then we have some families with children. And the area that we live in is already challenged. We back up to Harding Place, and there's an access that we've had a number of issues with crime and, homeless people coming in and just car break-ins. And so we've had a lot of issues. I think a couple of things stood out when I was looking at the report up there. So this hearing was first supposed to take place May 24th, and I came, and it was rescheduled. On June 1st, my neighbor, who I believe is one of the ones that sent in a letter of opposition, provided a video on June 1st, which I have in my phone, of people checking out with luggage. So absolutely, there have been people staying at the property past even the date of the originally scheduled appeal hearing. As for the gentleman here, we live there. We're there every day. I don't see him, so I don't know who's living in the property. I don't know. It's an issue of just doing things by the right way. We don't live in an area that's close to downtown. So the appeal to have people there, I think you have to go out of your way to really do it. It's hard for me to understand that someone that's been in business with Airbnbs 8 years as a superhost doesn't know that you need to check permitting. And to answer the question posed earlier, I believe it's by Councilmember Cash, when you have a city or a municipality that requires registration, you have to put that on Airbnb. It asks you to put permit numbers. That's common. But what I did notice is that there's almost a deliberate attempt, because I didn't know these facts until today, that the listing first was under one name, and then after he was cited, the listing was then again put up, but under a different name, like it was Graceland or Elvis Presley or something like that. So in my opinion, that's a deliberate attempt to go around. I also want to add that I work in an industry, we manage community associations, so I am truly sensitive to short-term rentals, and again, I'm not opposed, but I understand the problems that come with those in the neighborhoods when they're not managed, when they're not regulated. And to just come in and buy a home without talking to the neighbors, going through the proper licensures, and then still continuing to operate even while there's a sign in the front yard saying that there's an appeal hearing coming up, is just a blatant disregard for the community and for the law.
Thank you so much. Do any board members have any questions? Councilmember Cash, and then Mr. Kleinfelter.
Thank you for all that information. So you, like in somewhere in there, you mentioned like there've been some problems with crime and homelessness and stuff like that. You're not saying that has anything to do with this property or anything,
No.
Have there been, and you testified that there were, like, you have video of people like getting out with suitcases, but have there been any problems with the property that you felt the need to like report them on Hub or to police or anything like that? Like, what can you say about the conduct on the property?
Absolutely. So I can say I haven't seen anything at the property, any parties or anything like that, but I've definitely seen inebriated people lingering in front of the home, either waiting for an Uber or getting out for an Uber, because I was outside with my husband. I was like, we don't know these people, where they come from. It's a very small street. And so not only does that bring into question, are you putting the guests that are visiting the city of Nashville at risk because they don't know the area? This is not a properly permitted place. And so I can't say that car vandalisms or break-ins that have occurred have not been from his guests. I'm not suggesting that at all, but yes.
Thanks.
One very short question. You were not one of the people who submitted a letter to the staff, right?
No, I was the one that said I was going to come in person. I'm
Okay.
the representative.
we have two letters, and so this is a third complaint.
Yes.
I had a question. You mentioned that your neighbor saw people checking out with luggage on June 1st or around that date. Do you know if your neighbor was able to speak to anyone in that party and ask if they had been there long-term, or do you know if they had been there for more than 30 nights?
No idea, because I think that it just came to light for her through the Ring video, because it was during the daylight. It was
Okay.
not an overnight thing, but I can tell you that I'm in and out of the house every day. These are not people that have been there a long time.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Anything else from the board? Do you have anything else you would like to add? This will be your last opportunity to speak.
I just would ask that you please consider the neighborhood, consider the deliberate attempts to go around the proper permitting procedures. We live there. We're vested owners, and we just want to have a neighborhood that's kind of as calm as it can be with all the other things that are going on. So please consider the opposition.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Yep, thank you.
And y'all can just switch seats. And you don't need to reintroduce yourself. How much time is left, Ms. Buffer? 7 minutes and 40 seconds, but don't feel like you have to use it all.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. So, first things first, on the thing that I heard about early June, people leaving with suitcases and all, that was my business partner. She was leaving to visit her daughter in South Carolina. So, it was just her. And there were, yeah. So, we had long-term tenants, people that are staying more than 30 days. Okay, so that is maybe she saw one of those people leaving. I'm not sure who was leaving with suitcases, but I think that's our own thing. But anyways, the other thing that I wanted to mention was that the drunk people and all, I have not seen anybody, like, we always try to tell the guests that, hey, you cannot just linger around the property and things like that. So I don't think people have been lingering around. Going back to the people leaving with the suitcases in June, that was early June. That was, I think, my business partner leaving for South Carolina to visit her daughter. And I think she had a lot of suit clothes that she wanted to take to her daughter and her family members there. So that is that. And then we try to keep the area very clean. We try to keep agree with all the laws. We try to follow each and everything. We try to keep the community clean. We try to tell all the guests to keep the volume low, and we try to be good civilians overall. The thing about going around calling the property one thing and Graceland or something, it's Grace-land. We just really like the idea of grace, people living with grace on a land. So that's why it was inspired by Elvis Presley's Graceland in Memphis, so that's where we got the name. One of the rooms is named Elvis Presley at Grace-land, so that was the way. And another room was called the Tree Room, because all the paintings in the room are based on tree, a lot of tree stuff. And then the last room is the Scarlet Room, which is, again, there's a big painting of Scarlet from the movie. So we try to keep it very themed for the Nashville visitors that would be here. So we definitely did not try to go around to finesse or anything. We tried to follow the system, and we just did not know that there was a short-term rental permit required. And that is why, once we got to know, and that's why I'm here with you guys. I know I scheduled this meeting last month as well, but timelines, it didn't work, and that is why I had to reschedule it, and that's why I'm here today. So we try to follow all the guidelines. We did our best. Yes, it was my first property, and Nashville, we did not know that there was a short-term rental permit required. And that's, as soon as we knew that it was required, I'm here with you guys for the request.
Okay, do we have any other questions from board members? Councilmember Cash.
Thanks. I'm just going to ask if you're given relief, and if in the future you can continue doing short-term rental there, will you reach out to your neighbor and provide some sort of contact information so that not to be abused or every little thing, but if there are legitimate concerns that she or other neighbors have about what's going on, that they are able to reach out to you?
See, having a nice neighborhood is what our guests want, right? And we sent letters to each and everybody in the community but I wish people had reached out to me or to the business partner, just to say, hey, this is what's going wrong, or hey, but we never heard that at all. Had somebody just raised one concern to me, hey, that there are these drunk people who are lingering on the property, or why are these people on waiting for Uber, we would have taken care of that. We are here to help out community. We are here to do the good. But Yes,
Yeah.
of course, if people reach out to
I don't
us.
think waiting for an Uber is like, doesn't rise to what I was talking
Right.
about. Hopefully they won't call or reach out if it's just somebody waiting for an Uber. But I'm just asking if you'll give her some contact.
Of course, I will give my own contact this time to make sure that if anything happens as the owner of the property, I will be the one to help out the community, first of all. I don't want anybody to getting stressed about why are these unknown strangers here and whatnot. So, of course, I will be the first one to take care of the people.
Great,
I
thank
wish
you.
people reached out to me or reached out to my business partner, because this is the first time I'm hearing that there were 2 complaints that were submitted to you guys in letter form, and there's this lady here. I wish somebody reached out to us directly. We would have loved to engage with us. We want to be good neighbors because we are, of course, from South Carolina, so we did not know. And of course, we want to be friendly with each and every one of our customers and neighbors and the community overall. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and I understand wishing that people had reached out to you. I do want to say it's completely acceptable for them to just reach out to the board. Sometimes in cases like this that can be contentious, people don't feel comfortable.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, before this case, they wouldn't have known who to reach out to or how to reach you.
Like a simple
yeah.
name or number and just slide it on my door, on the mailbox or something, or just tape it on the mailbox, I would have just more than happy to give them a call. Like I also run a website building business, so I am always giving away my business cards to people. So I would always would have loved to give my business cards to anybody who had a problem or something. So, but this time I'll go around the neighborhood myself, give them my business card so they can reach out to me in case they have any problems. I'm here to help the community. I'm here to work with the community. I'm here to be a part of the community. I'm here to make things great again. I'm here to do things better, not to disregard my neighbors. Or if somebody has a complaint, of course I'll be the first one. And this is the first time I'm hearing that my neighbors had an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will make sure to reach out to all my neighbors, and just on a very friendly term, I'll give them my business card, my phone number, and email. They can reach out to me in any way possible. Even if they want to write me a letter, they can reach out, and I'll be more than happy to take care of my neighbors.
Okay. Anything else from the board? And did you have anything else to add, Mr. Dasawat?
Ms. Williams, I just wanted to say I'm a very friendly person. I will reach out to all my neighbors to make sure that they have no problems. I'm here to work with people. I'm here to just, with that entrepreneurial spirit, me and my business partner came to Nashville so we can start a real estate business. And we take care of our guests amazingly. We have tons of, people love staying with us. And I just did not know the short-term rental permit and that 2 neighbors had complained, including this wonderful lady right over here who is my neighbor.
If you can address the board. Sorry, y'all can talk afterwards, but this is time to speak to the board.
If I know that anybody had a problem, I would have addressed it. One of my neighbors, my adjacent neighbors, there was a car in my driving lot, okay? So I went around and I used her driveway, okay? So next day I got a letter from them, hey, you used her driveway, you did not do that. And I got a letter and I addressed it amazingly, and ever since then we never had any problems with that neighbor, and we're amazing friendly terms. We love each other, we're great neighbors, so.
I think we understand your desire to be a good neighbor. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Dasawat?
I promise to keep the neighborhood great. I have full regard for the law, I have full regard for my neighbors, and I'm here to be part of a good neighborhood and good community overall.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind turning off the mic and then just taking a seat back in the audience, we're going to close the public hearing, so we will not be hearing from the public anymore. We're going to have a conversation among the board, which you will see, and then we will take a vote. I also wanted to clarify, Councilmember Cash is a non-voting member of our board, so you will see that he is not voting. That's not because he doesn't have an opinion. It is because by Metro Code, he is not allowed to vote. So you will not see Councilmember Cash casting a vote. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Would you turn the mic off, please?
Is it not off yet?
Not yet. Great, thank you so much. Okay, who wants to start us off? Mr.
Can I
Kleinfelter?
start with a question, since I'm my second meeting? What are the vote options? Is it to approve the appeal, deny the appeal, or there's something in between? I know there's something in between that's possible, but is that what the kind of votes are? Or
Yes,
motions?
so, yes, you're correct. Let's hear from Metro Legal.
I would say you can vote to uphold the zoning administrator's decision, and which would also be a year-long ban from permitting. You can uphold but offer some relief, which would be, and sometime shorter than the year, effectively. Or I think you can waive the year if you overturn the zoning administrator's decision.
Or the other end of that, and I'm not saying we'll do this, but is to just say we vote to uphold the appeal and not support, I don't know, what's the right phrasing if one does that? If we're saying no, you can go back to business tomorrow.
You would say that you either believe that the zoning administrator erred in making his determination, in which case we would be overturning the zoning administrator's determination, or that if for whatever reason you wanted to say that they could go back and get a permit tomorrow, you would say, we find that the zoning administrator did not err, but want to waive the waiting period.
Good. I just want to make sure I know what the landscape is.
Yeah.
And I would say too, I believe under the rules, there are factors to base that relief upon.
Yes, we have 5 factors that we consider. So we look at intent, whether the appellant did knowingly commit a wrongful act under the code, injury to neighboring residents and properties, undue hardship, however, any such hardship shall not be self-imposed, furtherance of public policy, and then I believe there's also remedial action, whether the appellant took steps to remedy the violation.
To clarify, those are things to look at if you're going to grant relief. If you're just going to say, yes, the zoning administrator was right, you don't really need to specify any of those factors.
That is correct.
Okay.
Councilmember Cashew.
So, and at this point, at the time these violations happened, there was no permit. Somewhere in the middle of that, there was an application for a permit, and it's just like been in the codes department's hands and nothing's happened with it pending this hearing, right?
Correct. Yeah.
No, actually, the permit application was denied.
Oh.
But when someone has advertised and operated prior to obtaining a permit, from the time the zoning administrator or his designee makes that determination, there's a 1-year wait, so they can't even actually, they're not eligible to make an application at that point. But since it was denied.
So there would have to be if there's relief and when that relief starts, there would have to be a resubmission, or you have the one that's on file and?
No, they would have to resubmit.
Thanks.
Ms. Bell?
Yeah, I just feel it's not the community's responsibility to reach out to an Airbnb owner to figure things out or ask a question, or I think and it could go both ways. Maybe you could see them outside and be like, hey, I do have a few concerns, but I also think that in being in the neighborhood, if you're not from here, you moving in and you saying that you love your neighbors, your community, it wouldn't be hard to do a few door knockings. But the sign is in the front yard. Like you said, there was a application denial, but then there was another email that was sent by the appellant asking for to be able to submit the permit, but then it was still stays in April, even after seeing that you violated the permit. So, yeah, I think I want to uphold with the original. How do I say it, legal?
You could just vote to uphold the zoning administrator's decision.
I want to vote to uphold the zoning administrator's decision.
One thing I wanted to mention, sorry, Mr. Kleinfelter, just a minute, but on the topic of the stays in April, we frequently have appellants coming in here who have canceled all future bookings. So I don't know, I'm having trouble with the explanation that Airbnb wouldn't let you cancel. It's your property. So maybe Airbnb would say you can't be a host anymore, but that's also a consequence of the decision not to operate in compliance with the law. So I personally am not swayed by the argument that, well, we tried to cancel, but we couldn't, because we have appellants coming in here every month saying, and we see in the documentation that they canceled every single planned booking after they received the notice of violation.
And I'll add, in that explanation, it seemed like there was an assertion that they were only long-term stays, and that I felt clouded the certainty of what was being said.
Yeah, the mathematical impossibility of that was hard for me. Mr. Kleinfelter.
Yeah, I'm not sure we need much more, but I will say that, I mean, the Airbnb site took 3 seconds to find. It says check for local regulations and requirements. The City of Aiken does require registration and payment of business taxes or lodging taxes. And as I said while I was asking questions, the fact that the business partner does things is irrelevant. The property is the property. So, I mean, I don't see any reason to grant any specific relief, and I'll make a motion if you like to uphold the zoning administrator's decision.
Also, too, I think is,
Wait 1 second, Ms. Bell, if we could get a second on the motion and then we can have discussion. Okay, go ahead.
I feel it's your responsibility as the host or Airbnb owner to look into the regulations and the laws when you move to a city. If you're going to be buying a house and using it as an Airbnb, that's your responsibility to do all of the research. So the fact that there was none done, it's just, I'm finding it hard to believe that that's the case, yeah.
And I did want to point out, because we have 2 new board members, just for some background, we see a lot of cases like this. It's one of the most frequent things that we see. Typically, there is some relief offered if we can show that these factors were taken into account. It is unusual for us to not offer any relief. However, it's also unusual for us to see an appellant who has not canceled stays after they were informed of the violation. So I just wanted to put that out there for our new board members to consider. But obviously, you're free to make a motion. We have a motion on the floor.
I mean, I say, yeah, I know I'm new, but I'm also plenty comfortable becoming known as someone who's going to say, you know, unless there's something really significant, then no, the rules are the rules, and you wouldn't open a shop selling, I don't know, anything, CBD products from a house without checking first. So a business is a business, and one checks regulations before one opens a business.
Yeah, not suggesting you should feel any differently, but just wanted to give some context. Okay, do we have any more discussion? Councilmember Cash?
I'll say I appreciate, Chair, what you said there, and kind of were offering that. I was kind of thinking, you know, that we do have, we have, and I have been here, I'm still kind of new, like, 6 months, and that we do typically, unless there's something really egregious, like, see if there's some kind of, you know, like, not the full 12 months necessarily, which if I were able to make motions and vote, I would support, but I think there needs to be some, like, I don't think it should be tomorrow. I think there needs to be some kind of period where before there should be an application, but I'm open to it. I would have been open to it not being a full year.
I agree with that, Councilmember Cash. Do we have any more discussion before we move to a vote? Okay, all in favor of the motion to uphold the zoning administrator's decision and not grant relief? Aye. And all opposed? I will vote in opposition. But 2-1, that motion carries. So the zoning administrator's decision has been upheld, and appellant, feel free to speak to code staff about next steps. And we will move to our next case. Mr. McBroom.
Our next case is 2026-015, Tommy Cook, 2111 Cahal Avenue, owner-occupied permit was revoked. The short-term rental property is not the principal or primary residence of the owner permit holder. This is an R6 zone district, and only owner-occupied permits are allowed. This is governed by BL 2024-478. The decision of the board is whether or not the zoning administrator erred in the revocation of the permit. 6.28.030.8.2.c to qualify for an STRP owner-occupied permit, the owner of the property occupied the subject property of the STRP as their primary residence is proven by documentation required in section 6.28.030.8.3.b.4. The board has discretion under BL 2023-136. On January the 8th of 2021, AK Properties Incorporated acquired the property at 2111 Cahal Avenue, Nashville, Tennessee 37216. The registered agent for AK Property Incorporated is Hoshida Koot. The registered agent address, principal office address, and the mailing address is 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet, Tennessee 37122. On August 23rd of 2022, declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions for the horizontal property regime for the 2109 Cahal Homes entered into by AK Property Incorporated and signed by Soshita Koot on August 23rd, 2022, and registered August 31st, 2022. Number 17 in that document of the use and occupancy restrictions states, subject to the provisions of bylaws, no part of the property may be used for the purposes other than allowed by the municipal zoning laws. The HPR, known as the 2109 Cahal Homes, consists of 2111 Cahal Avenue and 1591 Branch Street, as it is a corner lot. The Metro STRP ordinance stipulates that to obtain an owner-occupied permit for horizontal property regime in the R6 zone district, the owner must have principal residence in one of the units and then can obtain a permit for the other unit. October 20th of 2025, 2111 Cahal Avenue is quitclaim deeded to Tommy Koop from AK Property Incorporated. December 9th, 2025, an owner-occupied STRP permit application was submitted. December the 10th of 2025, the permit was issued. December 15th of 2025, 2111 Cahal Avenue was quitclaim deeded to Tommy Koop and Soshita Koop. The deed listed the address of the new owners as 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet, Tennessee 37122, and the deed was notarized in Wilson County. March the 29th of 2026, Councilmember Emily Benedict forwarded me an email from the constituent, which in part read, "I'm reaching out because I've noticed one of the houses across the street from us appears to have started renting as an Airbnb. The address is 2111 Cahal Avenue. These homes, 1591 Branch and 2111 Cahal, share a corner lot and have been lingering on the market for a year with no movement. They do not have primary residence." I reviewed the STRP permit package that was submitted and found the 2025 real tax statement from the Metropolitan trustee listed the mailing address of the owner of 2111 Cahal Avenue as 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet. The HOA and contact information form that was signed by Tommy Koop listed his address as 836 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet. A Wilson County, Tennessee property search had no results for this address. River Heights Drive ends at 831 River Heights Drive. Mr. Cooch, also submitted as part of the application package of the owner-occupied STRP permit affidavit signed by Mr. Cooch, which reads in part, as required by law, I certify that all the information provided regarding my owner-occupied STRP permit property is true and accurate. I am applying for an owner-occupied permit. I certify that the subject property is my permanent residence. I acknowledge that any permit issued based on false information is a permit subject to revocation. April 2nd of 2026, the Tennessee Secretary of State has AK Properties Incorporated as an active entity for which the registered agent address and principal address and the mailing address is listed as 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet. The Bizpedia business entity search also has the same information for AK Properties as the Tennessee Secretary of State. The Davidson County Assessor of Property has the owner of 2111 Cahal Avenue's current mailing address listed as 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet. The Metropolitan Trustee for Nashville and Davidson County has the owner of 2111 Cahal Avenue's mailing address as 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet on the tax bills for the years 2023, 2024, and 2025. We found a complaint filed in the Chancery Court of Davidson County, Tennessee on October 7, 2024, in which Tommy and Soshita Coote were named as co-defendants along with DAV Construction Southeast LLC, which states, number 4, upon information and belief that Tommy Coote is an adult resident citizen of Wilson County, Tennessee, residing at 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet, and 5, upon information and belief that Soshita Coote is an adult resident citizen of Wilson County, Tennessee, residing at 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet. Inspector Phelps found a warranty deed recorded on March 9, 2020, that establishes that Tommy and Soshita Coote are husband and wife. The Tennessee Comptroller of the Treasury lists the owner of 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet, as Soshita Coote. The address on Ms. Coote's Tennessee driver's license is 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet, and Ms. Coote has that vehicle registered at 813 River Heights Drive. On April 8th of 2026, the permit revocation letter was sent. The revocation effective date was 4/23/26. On April 22nd of 2026, the appeal was filed and the website advertisement calendars were changed to 30-night minimum stay. May the 8th of 2026, Inspector Phelps posted a stop work order at the property and documented it with photos. June 14th, 2026, Inspector Phelps made a site visit to 813 River Heights Drive, Mount Juliet, and found the vehicles of both Mr. and Ms. Coote parked in the driveway at that address, which he documented with photographs. There are no documented stays after the revocation date. June 16th of 2026, as of this writing, our office received 9 letters via email in opposition to the granting of the appeal.
Then it looks like we may be about to hear from Mr. Hargis.
I would just say, Metro Legal speaking, not Joey Hargis, but given Mr. Board Member Kleinfelder asked the question about the board's authority, in a revocation case, the board cannot offer relief if it determines the revocation was appropriate.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Hargis, I can't remember if we, on cases like this where you are here to grace us with your presence, if we consider you part of the opposition or if we have you speak with staff.
No, your prior legal counsel, Ann, I'm missing Ann's last name. Mickelson, thank you. I almost named the name of a court reporter I know. Ann held that I'm to be treated during staff's time.
Perfect.
Since I'm representing in an official capacity. For those members, I see 2 new members on the board. I want to introduce myself. I'm Joey Hargis. I'm the Metro Zoning Administrator. It's nice to meet you, Ms. Bell. We have not met previously before today. Mr. Kleinfelder, I've seen him appear at the Board of Zoning Appeals, and so I am familiar with him, but welcome you both to the board. And I saw the Metro Council last night appointed, I think, a new member to, or at least a name has been for an additional member to be joining y'all shortly. So I'll come back and see them or maybe visit them at the council on their swearing-in night. But I wanted to take a moment to address especially the new board members here to give you some sort of behind the curtains of how I do this job, especially in cases where an applicant, after investigation by my staff, investigates that they, the owner-occupied permits, this must be their principal residence, not their house, not a place they visit, but this is their full-time residence. And that's key. Tennessee law is pretty clear that there can only be one domicile, is the word used under state law. There's only one place, but you can have multiple residences, but you only have one home. And I really use the word home for my purposes to be, this is their full-time, they live here, and they intend to return at all times. So you've got this case that's upcoming. You've got another case on your agenda, which unfortunately I won't be able to stay for. I've got another meeting. But if you look at the evidence provided to you by Mr. McBroom, think of it as scales. The information submitted by the applicants, my staff goes and looks, where's their driver's license? Where's their voting information? Where are they registering their vehicles? Government records for me carry much more weight than just simple bank statements and addresses on an NES bill. You can change those like that. But when you're telling the state of Tennessee, the Department of Safety, that I live here full time, and you're registering your vehicle with the state, or you're telling the voter, when you're registering to vote, to me, those are very important documents. And you're telling folks, so you'll see cases that'll come before you where those items are elsewhere. And I take all of that as a sort of a totality. If you think of the scales, as we start stacking data, I'm looking like, yeah, they clearly don't live here. And that's the situation here with this case on Cahal, as well as the case will be coming for you on 11th Avenue North. Those appellants do not reside on the premises. And that would be the reason for either not issuing the permit or in a revocation case, revoking a permit if we receive information that they do not reside here. To not do that would effectively open this up to, I might as well just print out owner-occupied STRs and leave them on the corner of Mac's desk for the public to come in and just pay the fee and take one. Because, and Councilmember, I see him shake his head, this is what the Metro Council wants of me as zoning administrator, to enforce this law. They want the owner-occupied permits to be a home of the operator of the business full-time, so they have an interest in the neighborhood in which they're performing, with the belief if you don't reside here, you don't care as much about that neighborhood you're living in. So you'll take more pride if this is your principal residence. I will ask the council member and his 39 cohorts to please look at amending this law to at least put some restrictions on the use as far as how often can they rent. As it's written now, the owner-occupied permit can rent the property 365 days out of the year. There's no requirement for the owner to be present when these things. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating for that, but other jurisdictions that put limitations on how often owner-occupied permits can lease for short-term rental. Our code, unfortunately, does not provide such that. But anyway, that's why I'm here today. Just let you a little bit know, especially for Ms. Bell. Mr. Kleinfelter may not know. I know Ms. Williams knows. We've been in multiple meetings. I know the council are familiar, but I wanted to at least put a face with a name, so you know who the zoning administrator is and sort of the reasons behind how we do that portion of the job. For the non-owner occupied permits, I don't care if you don't live there. It's fine. It's great. In its name, you're not required to live there. This is not the non-owner occupied STRPs. I don't think you guys see appeals here often, if any. Have we had anything for a non-owner occupied permit?
We have, but it'll be like operating without a permit or operating on an expired permit.
Something like that. Yeah, it's not, ownership or residency is irrelevant. You can live wherever you want to. But I also want to share with you, Ms. Bell, Ms. Kleinfelter, for us, we sometimes get the testimony in our office that, well, my husband lives here and I live here. Some of the ground rules is not written in the ordinance. As zoning administrator, I've got to come up with some baseline things. And for me, spouses have to live together. They have one residence together. So if one of the spouses travels often, that's great, but they all eventually come back to this location as their home. So we don't accept that, well, that property's deeded in the wife's name. This property's deeded in the husband's name. It's great. Figure out which property you're going to operate. You only get one. So that's not the case in front of you. But I want to give you that scenario in case you run into it. But I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. If you've got any questions of me before I depart from my 2:30, welcome to the board. So.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Hargis or Mr. McBroom before we hear from the appellants? Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Hargis. And do we have any opposition to this case? Okay. Got it. If the appellant or appellants would come to the table. Okay. And sir, feel free to take a seat. If you will hit that button on your microphone so that we can hear you.
Hello.
Great. And then you'll have 10 minutes. You can save some of that time for rebuttal after we hear from the opposition if you want to.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you will introduce yourself, give us your name and your address, and tell us about your situation.
Yes, my name Tommy, last name Kuch, Kuch. I live in 1591 Branch Street, Nashville, Tennessee. That's we got 37216.
Okay,
And,
go ahead.
Good afternoon. After review of the public document regarding permits, case number 2025-102672 for 2111 Kahal Avenue, it appeared that several assumptions were made regarding to my residency and personal relationship status that are not accurate. For classification, Sucheta, Kuch, and I are divorced back in 2011. And while we continue to share certain business and ownership interests, we do not reside together. The reference to the Mount Juliet property appear to stem from historical and or business-related associate and should not be interpreted an evidence of my primary residence. My primary residence is 1591 Branch Street, next to the permit short-term rental property, consistent with the original approved owner-occupied permit structure involved 2 homes on 1 lot. Of all my current identification and residency documents reflect this address, and I am prepared to provide any support document request. And additionally, the contrary to statement made within the complaint material with both homes have been removed from the market while the home were initial construct with possibility of future sale in mind. Market condition change and current living of the ownership arrangement was established in accordance with my in a permit structure approved by Metro. Given in accurate of information that appear to have contributed to the determination of I respectful request reconsider of a proposed revocation prior to the scheduled appeal hearing. I would also appreciate clarification regarding further operation must see pending appeal or whether the permit may remain active while this matter is reviewed further. And additionally, given the significant financial impact involved in the apparent fracture in inaccuracy underlying this matter, I respect request that its reconsideration is not granted. Any decision to continue the revocation be reviewed and confirmed at director level prior further enforcement action. I appreciate for your time, reconsider, and look forward to resolve this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooch. I just want to clarify, I think you mentioned something about if the permit could remain active while the appeal is pending. Were you asking, I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
The permit has been revoked. We
Yes.
don't have the authority to make it active during the pendency of the appeal. So the permit is revoked.
Yes, ma'am.
We're considering whether or not the zoning administrator made an error in revoking the permit.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any questions from board members? I'll start. I have a question. Where is do you have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
And what is the address listed on your driver's license?
1591 Branch Street.
And do you know when your driver's license was issued?
I believe it's about 6-7 months ago.
Okay. If you want to take a look at it.
Yeah. (1104) 2025.
Okay. Okay. And then we had information in the case summary from Metro that one of our inspectors went to the address in Mount Juliet and saw your car as well as your ex-wife's car at the address in Mount Juliet. Could you explain why your car would be,
I was there to meet for business.
sorry, could you,
And yeah, I'm there for a business meeting
okay. A business meeting at,
at 813 River High.
at a house? Is that
Yeah.
where you operate a business out of?
Yeah.
Okay, and what do you do?
I mean, business together. Operate business, like to discuss about business.
Okay, you and your ex-wife are in
Yeah.
business together?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? Ms.
For-
Bell?
Yes, for clarification, so at the time when this is happening, are y'all both staying, you and your ex-wife, are y'all both staying at that address, or she's
No,
okay.
she lives in 813 River High. Yeah, I used to live at 6131 Kenwood in Antioch. That's where I live with my sister.
Now or then?
But before, yeah. And now I live 1591 Brain Street.
Okay.
Mr. Kleinfelder?
So you and your wife, you said were divorced in 2011,
Yes, sir.
and then the property was deeded from you
Yes, sir.
to you and your ex-wife
Yes.
in 2025?
Yes, sir.
The deed refers to you as husband and wife.
I don't know why, but we never remarry.
Okay.
As on the record, we never.
This might be a question for staff. The history of the matter, the summary says an owner-occupied permit was submitted. Who submitted the permit, you or your wife?
I do. And the reason when we refinance on that house, and that's why we called the officer who do the loan, and I told her why you put me and my ex-wife to be married. And they made a mistake on that, and they already done signing everything on that. Yeah, and we know that too. Yeah, that's why we do the next one refinance. This is just by myself only. Yeah.
Who owns the house in Mount Juliet?
She does.
Not the two of you?
No.
And staff, can you confirm who submitted the permit, how the permit was submitted?
I can. It'll take a moment, though.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to know that. So I guess, in short, your position is you do live at the other house on this property.
Yes, sir.
Are both units of that HPR owned by you
Yes.
and your ex-wife?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's what I have right now.
When did you move to the Branch Street?
Branch after completely done, then we move in. Before we still do a little bit fixing, repair. So we done everything, and then we decided to move in. I believe on 7-8 months ago.
Okay.
7-8 months ago.
Sorry. The opposition is free to ask questions or make
yes.
comments to the
That's
board,
fine.
but let's
Yeah.
not have crosstalk. Okay, any other questions from the board at this time? And Mr. Cooch, anything you would like to add before we hear from the opposition?
No.
Okay, and you'll be able to come back up after we hear from the opposition?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we have 4 seats here. I think that should be enough to seat all of the opposition. If y'all want to come forward, you will have 10 minutes among the 3 of you to split up however you deem appropriate. If you don't know each other, great time to introduce yourselves. And that's not 10 minutes for each person, it's 10 minutes total. Mr. McBroom?
Yes, Mr. Kleinfeld, the application was submitted by Mr. Cooch.
Okay, and if y'all will just make sure your microphones are turned on And before you speak, please introduce yourself, give us your name and address, and then share what you would like to with us.
Hello, my name is Michael Quintero. I live at 100A McKennell. We live just down the road from this property. We got this notice and, we didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but nonetheless, I think the major issue here is that this person who was sitting here, Mr. Cooch, was the developer of this property. Obviously, he must not be able to sell the property, and so he's trying to circumvent the rules that are established for this neighborhood to somehow, on paper, occupy one of the properties and then rent the other property. I mean, I think that's kind of clear. I would be very interested to know, besides his driver's license, what proof he has that he actually resides at this property. Where did he sleep last night? Where did he sleep a week ago? Where does he go after work? I think it's all pretty clear that the property everyone knows about is a property in Mount Juliet. Even the code enforcement Metro saw his car there. I'm sure if you had done other random checks, you probably would have found his car there too. An aside from that for a moment, the thing about ex-wife or wife, both the deeds for both houses say the same thing. It was first sold from AK Properties, which is owned by his wife or ex-wife, to himself, and then around the time, October or December, they were then transferred to him and his wife or ex-wife. So to try to make that differentiation, I think, is kind of a red herring. I think that they are working in unison and trying to circumvent, the rules which Zone 6 is supposed to be against. What else? I mean, those are the things that really stand out at me. I would be interested to know where his voter's registration is. It says that his 2025 tax returns were done and filed through a different address. So I think the real issue here, like the gentleman said before, is really analyzing where exactly this person lives and what is real proof and what is not. Because on paper, you can make yourself look like you live anywhere. And as residents from another state, you could easily say you live one place and be in another. So, and we're not right. We used to live in a different state. We live in our current property, but we understand those principles. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
I'm Shannon Quintero. I'm Michael Quintero's wife. If I could just be heard for one moment, please. Just a few additional details.
Sorry, if you'll just give us your address. It's a formality, but.
Same address, 100A McKennell Drive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a few additional details. Number one being that this property, I believe after we received the notice of the short-term rental appeal of this meeting, was listed for sale. So it's been listed for sale a number of times, but it was listed for sale recently. And do we have the?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have 8 copies of
Yeah.
it.
So we have copies of it.
I think this is the most interesting
And
part of it.
I do have copies, if I may approach.
This part.
If you can hand those to Mr.
Absolutely.
McBroom, and we'll make sure legal that we get a copy in the record.
And we have additional copies if you need them. So what we wanted to reiterate about this property being for sale, as you'll see, is that it actually advertises itself as adding to its appeal. The property is currently progressing through the short-term rental approval process, offering a unique opportunity to both luxury home owners and investors in Nashville's most sought-after neighborhoods. This is why it's so important for us to be here. That offends me. I'm upset about this. We have a 2-year-old that we just moved in right before I gave birth, and we love our neighborhood. I was just telling, I'm sorry, I didn't commit your name to memory. I was trying to think of other things, but I was just telling her that actually our babysitter who we love lives in her neighborhood. Like, we are very tight-knit. We walk everywhere, and this is really important to us. And another thing that and I know this isn't the board's fault at all, but we received this letter that was dated April 30th, and I've got the post stamp. It was mailed June 2nd. So you guys received 9 letters for something that was mailed, 5 weeks after it should have been and those letters, that turnaround was quick. Like we took time off work that we took time away from work that week so that we could actually write one of the letters. I actually rushed out of a work commitment today so I could be here because it's that important to me. And that's such a fast turnaround, and I don't think that's a meaningful process. And yet you still got 9 comments because this is a community that really cares about each other and its neighborhood. I did have some suspicions that this was being used as an Airbnb previously. I then kind of thought, well, no, it's not, it shouldn't be an Airbnb at this point in time. And so I kind of thought, well, maybe the owners are throwing like, what's on the screen. Maybe something like that is I don't know, you see that brokers throw little parties, and I thought maybe it's that and was giving them the benefit of the doubt, but very well might have been, and I heard those. And that's not something that should continue on an ongoing basis. That's why we have this. And then also this divorce, I don't know if we actually have documentation of a supposed divorce, but I thought that woman who's in this picture there was just in here and left like 30 minutes ago. So and they were sitting together. So I don't know about the status of this divorce. Thank you very much for hearing us.
I'm Barb Vitula. I live at 2121 Cahal. We are the units that are right up against these 2 units. We have a history with Tommy. When the building was being built, they had used our property. The cement truck stood on our property as they were pouring the foundation and totally wrecked our pavement. So I had to do digging to find out who owned this, where did they live. I couldn't get a hold of the owner until I sent a letter to the address in Mount Juliet. So I've known like where this person has lived right from the very construction of it. And he's been very non-responsive to our neighborhood in terms of the damage that he caused with the construction of his property. So I have no faith or confidence in him in terms of being able to take care of it as a short-term rental owner. Secondly, I'm by the property daily. I live next door. There's been very few cars there unless there's work going on in the property. So sometimes there's people delivering furniture or doing some fixing upping, and I can see some construction, but not a regular resident in and out every day. I see that. I live there. So I don't believe that he's been a resident there for the last 6 to 7 months as he claims to be, because I see evidence of that every day. So I'm here to oppose this because I don't have any trust in him as an owner to be a responsible Airbnb host. This residence is very much set up to be a party palace. They have a huge deck on the roof. It's set up with no sound barriers, so if it was to open, I'm not only concerned about violating the law, but in terms of what it's going to do to the neighborhood. There's not adequate parking, so if you look at the property and you look at the pictures in this property where there is furniture, there's room for 12 beds. There's like 3 parking spaces. They've obviously used our lot multiple times through construction. What's going to keep them from using it as their renters have more than 3 vehicles? So I'm concerned in a number of ways, but I don't totally oppose him being given, or I'm for revoking his permit, or however I need to say that. Thank you.
Do we have questions from any board members? Thank you all so much for your comments.
I do, if I may.
Mr. Kleinfelder.
It's not really just positive, and you mentioned not seeing, and this can be for any one of you, not seeing vehicles and such, and this isn't really dispositive, but have you seen Mr. Cooch on the property with any regularity or ever?
No, I saw a younger gentleman there, actually, since I got this. I saw someone probably 30s there, and then I saw someone's Tesla there briefly.
Yeah, that's fine. And like I said, I don't want to say this isn't a he said, she said kind of thing. Is it one or both of the units that's being offered for sale?
Only one of them at the moment.
He'll
for
sell
sale.
you both. Do you have $5 million?
And do you have any concerns about prior operation with things that were, when people were staying there? Was it noisy? Was it what? I mean, there apparently were no hub complaints, but I'm just asking.
I do. So there was a period of time, and again, this is kind of in hindsight, me thinking, well, maybe that's what this was, because I never looked into, is he operating this as an Airbnb? To us, those were always just the developments that never came to fruition. But they obviously look like an Airbnb. We have been concerned that they would be Airbnbs for quite some time now. We were assured in the protections that council members such as Mr. Cash provide us with these laws. However, in hindsight, there was a string of instances some time ago, I want to say around December-ish, where I, again, was noticing that something was going, like lights would be on there, and I was noticing something was happening, like some type of party, but I thought, well, maybe it's them trying to drum up people to actually purchase the property. And then also there were several times where I was going to bed noticing noise, and it was definitely coming, I would say, from that direction, but I can't say for sure whether or not it was that property. And again, I'm not trying to rain on my neighbor's fun if it's actually a neighbor, you know, throwing an anniversary party or whatever, but I did notice something.
Ms. Bell?
You stated that you were seeing folks coming in and out with furniture and like beds and stuff. So is the house empty? Is it like actively being constructed on?
No, I think it's more like finishing touch-ups, right? There was also like last month, I think there was some sort of gas line problem. So they were doing a lot of construction out in front of the properties and having to do some repairs to the sidewalk and everything. So I see people maintaining the property, but it's kind of like crews coming in and out, not like a regular residence that's just taking care of their own property. If that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. And so for clarification, you haven't seen, or have you seen, any families or anybody that's actually looking like they're staying in the B&B, so getting out of the car with suitcases or?
No,
Okay.
I have not personally seen that. I witnessed the events a couple times, right? But same thing, we're like, well, that's not like a regular occurrence. It's just sporadic, and who knows what that's about. He owns the property. If he wants to give a party there, he can give a party there, right? So, I didn't think of it as, oh, they're already renting it out.
Got you. Thank you for that.
It just doesn't seem like there's very much going on there at all. Like living there, whether it be him or people renting, it's just not a lot going on in those units.
So to y'all, it's definitely not being occupied as it should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one thing to add. I think it's also important, maybe just, I don't know if this is relevant or not, but in the listing that he has, they just put this back on the market, like on June 9th or something like that. And he's very specifically trying to advertise to other investors that this could be a short-term rental. But I would almost advise, Mr. Cooch, that these things don't transfer, so that's unique to you. I would be careful about advertising that you can turn this into an Airbnb when these short-term rental permits are not transferable or assignable.
But I think it does also show intent. He's trying to target investors who want to turn this property into an Airbnb they don't live in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And can you clarify, I don't see an address on this listing that you provided.
Yeah, I mean, we can pull it
Is that
up
the
on
Branch Street or is it the Cahal?
211
It's the Cahal.
Cahal.
Okay.
Because
It's
Cahal is
yeah.
the one that is listed for sale
It's
currently.
really hard to screenshot all of it,
Yeah.
but it was up there. I think we checked last night as well.
I took a screenshot of that this morning before I came.
And I took a screenshot of the main page today.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify which address we were looking at. Able to see,
Oh, sure. Here.
she can show it to you, absolutely.
I just wanted to show the proximity, the lack of parking, and the big event space up top.
And appreciate all this information. I do want to be clear, we don't have any control over parking, where people park. We don't have any control over what the place looks like. Our issue today is, does Mr. Cooch reside at the Branch Street address? Yeah. But we do appreciate your comments.
We appreciate being heard.
Of course. Do you have anything else to add? This will be your last opportunity to speak. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You sure can.
I had a question for staff before we hear back from Mr. Cooch on rebuttal. When there's two residents, when there's two owners of a house, they don't have to, I mean, under the technical regulations, they're not both required to live there. Or is that's sort of what Joey or Mr. Hargis was talking about, isn't it?
There's nothing in the ordinance that requires it, but it's based upon the state law that governs elections and where you register to vote.
Okay. And the other question was, if both houses on the HPR are sold, if they're under single ownership, then it is legal, it would be legal for a new owner to operate one as an Airbnb if they live, or short-term rental, if they live in the other, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That was the problem here.
That's the basis upon
Gotcha.
which an owner-occupied permit can be issued in an HPR.
Okay.
One of them has to be the owner's primary.
Mr. Cash, did you have questions for staff?
Just real quick. So I heard what Mr. Kleinfelter said. I want to clarify the permit and who's on the deed, and like if it's both of them on the deed, do both of them have to be on the permit? Do those have to match?
No.
One can be on, okay.
Also, I need to check with the time remaining for rebuttal. 6 minutes, 51 seconds.
Okay, Mr. Cooch, if you want to come back to the table and you have 6 minutes and 51 seconds left, feel free to respond to what you heard from the opposition. Go ahead.
I have nothing to respond, but just clarify on the parking place. I believe she mentioned about when we start construction business. I have no control with the concrete. They are the one run their own truck. I already told everybody whoever run through construction never run through her property. I told them many times, and my people never parking on the property at all. I know that. I didn't know yeah.
Ma'am, I know it's difficult, but, and
it's someone else, because it's not just even gas line people. I don't hire these people. These people work for this city, hire them to do the job. They park there. I even told them they never park there.
okay. And I just want to clarify for everyone, we're here on an issue about residency.
Okay.
We're here on a residency issue. I know that neighbors can have disputes about things that are not related to this, but if we can just stick to discussions about residency.
Just I would like to have my, reconsider on my permit, and on the loud and the music, I will, as far as I see, I never have problem at all. I don't see any loud music or anything because I was there. If anything happened, I will tell them not to do it.
Okay, I had another question for you. Other than your driver's license, what documentation do you have?
I have insurance. My car insurance. I got home insurance. I got my bill, utility bill. Everything's under my name.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have it with me.
Okay. So it looks like though your tax bills go to the Mount Juliet address?
Yeah, Mount Juliet, that's why I told you, because I was on business with my ex-wife, that's why we use the same the same CPR. That's why I go ahead and do it at the same time on the address.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do other board members have questions?
So, April 8th, you got a letter saying that that is not where you stay. What was your response to that?
I just I told my the person who ran the Airbnb I just go and close down all my Airbnb until we figure out what's going on. I need to appeal it. That's why I considered to appeal it.
But you're saying you did fully stay there at the time that you
Yeah,
received this
yeah,
letter. You was an active resident at
yeah,
that address.
Yeah, I even stay until during the on a snow day. We had a big storm snow day. I stayed there until the power. I remember the power cut off, like almost 1 week. I
In the
stayed there.
snowstorm at the Cahal address.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And pretty cold. I know. Without electric, no gas. Yeah.
I think we can probably all empathize with Winter Storm Fern. I feel like I had a question and now it has left my brain. Must not be that important. Any other questions from board members? Okay, Mr. Cooch, anything else you would like to add before we close the public hearing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. And if you'll just take a seat, we'll go ahead. Before we close the public hearing, actually, I had a question for staff. Can you confirm that the notice requirements were met? Notice to adjacent property owners?
We received the receipts for the certified mail, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. And Councilmember Cash, it looks like you want to start us off.
I do, but I want to speak for a minute, if I may, about what Mr. Hargis said early on, and I think this came up a couple of meetings ago. I think you asked me about it. Over the course of short-term rentals, I mean, they were first introduced in legislation because there wasn't anything in the books and they could do nothing about them. So we started the codification of them, or the council back then did. And just and then at a point council started removing them from certain zoning districts, R and RS first, or at least non-owner occupied R and RS first, and then RM, and I think those mainly the residential types, although I don't think they've been removed from RI. But, and council left the owner occupied and allowed for that to happen. I think there are some indicators that we ask for, that the legislation asks for, to prove owner occupied. And why did we do that? Why did we leave it? Well, a couple of reasons is that there are kind of two main concerns about short-term rentals. One is the kind of behavior that sometimes can seem like more of a commercial nature, and that can be loud or lots of people indifferent from what you see in a residential property. And because we want housing for our for Nashvillians, for long-term residents of Nashville. And having so many non-owner occupied, meaning fully allowed for short-term rentals, was taking from that housing stock, right? And so that latter is not, when it's owner occupied, it's at least a residence, right? That's what we expect. And it can also help somebody afford, it's kind of a different way to affordable housing. Rather than getting a long-term roommate, you might have more flexibility renting out part of your house to those coming in for the weekend or for a period, and have some flexibility there. And I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to keep the owner occupieds. But I knew that I think when we were going through this, we knew that there would be some issues with the proof part of it. And I couldn't have imagined that, the kind of the difficulty of that sometimes until I started hearing the cases here. And that's one of the, somebody tell Mr. Hargis that I am paying attention to stuff like that, and I know I'm here that if we need legislation to improve on the permitting and use of short-term rentals, that's one of the things that I'm thinking about for sure. I just wanted to say that since it came up.
Thank you very much. Comments from other board members?
I'm sorry, I will add, I disagree that we should always expect spouses to live together. That sometimes is not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Mr. Cash, Councilmember Cash. I've had a back and forth with Mr. Hargis in the past about that, and I think what we settled on is that, and not super relevant in this case, but that it is a rebuttable presumption. So from the zoning administrator's perspective, in order to maintain an orderly process and have some rules, he has to have a line. But from our perspective, when we hear cases, it would be a rebuttable presumption that spouses live together.
I think on the legal side, Tennessee case law would also speak to that as a rebuttable presumption.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Metro Legal. Okay, Mr. Kleinfelter.
The only thing I'll say, I mean, I don't really care to make the motion this time, but I'm personally disinclined to grant the relief, but I'm curious to hear what the other two board members have to say.
Can you maybe share why you don't feel like making a motion?
I want to hear what the other board members have to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear, I mean, there's no real hard evidence of the resident. I told the inspector actually before this meeting, I said that I'm really impressed with the volume and amount of data that's gathered, and I don't feel, speaking of rebuttable presumptions, I mean, that's the facts we have, and I don't feel that they were contradicted significantly.
And I would just say on the legal side, given that it's a revocation, it wouldn't be a question of relief in this matter.
Right. Just be whether or not the zoning administrator erred.
I personally don't think that they err. I don't believe that he stays there. As far as like the divorce and stuff goes, I guess like that can be up in the air, but I will say that I did see a lady in here as well with a blue shirt on that looks like the lady in this picture. But I do believe that maybe they probably are living in two different homes, or maybe it's like a back and forth thing. But as far as like permanent residency, I don't believe that it's at Cahal Street.
Well, I'll make a motion that we find that the zoning administrator did not err in his determination that 1591 Branch Street is not Mr. Cooch's primary residence.
Second, and before we vote, I'd like to just make one correction, because you said at Cahal, technically, he's claiming he lives at Branch, which is within the same HPR. I don't want speaking as a former litigator, I want some little fact issue to trip everything up.
Right. Okay, any more discussion before we vote? All in favor? Can we just raise hands so we have it? Yes, of the motion. Aye. And I see none opposed. That motion passes. Mr. Kleinfelter, did you second? Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Quick question for the board. I want to poll y'all. We've almost been going for 2 hours. I suspect that the next case is going to be somewhat complicated. Does anyone need a 5-minute break? Okay, great. We will take a 5-minute break, and I mean 5 minutes. So at 2:52, we will start back with our next case. Thank you so much. Let me use the gavel. Let me be official. There we go. Mr. McBroom, if we can move on to our next case, please.
Our next case is 2026-016. Abram Rosenbaum of 1112 11th Avenue North, owner-occupied permit was revoked. The short-term rental property is not the principal or primary residence of the owner permit holder. This is an SP zone district. Only owner-occupied permits are available in this SP. Governed by BL 2024-478. The decision of the board is whether or not the zoning administrator erred in revocation of permit. 6.28.030 for an STRP owner-occupied permit. The owner of the property occupy the subject property as their primary residence is proven by documents required in section 6.28.030.A.3.B.4. The board has discretion under BL 2023-136. December 5th of 2019, the appellant acquired the property at 1112 11th Avenue North, Nashville, Tennessee 37208. The owner's mailing address was recorded as 5706 17th Avenue North, Northwest, Seattle, Washington 98127. February the 4th of 2020, the owner-occupied permit application was submitted for the property. February 28th of 2020, the application was processed and permit was issued. October 29th of 2025, the property was quitclaim deeded from Avon E. Rosenham to Avon E. Rosenham and Clark Sloan. At this point, our department noted that Clark Sloan had an owner-occupied STRP permit for 1206D Ireland Street, which had previously been investigated for lack of primary residency. Inspector Phelps began an investigation for 1112 11th Avenue North. Also on this date, the appellant designated by a legal document Adam Rhodes, a.k.a. Adam Hathcock's Pacific Power of Attorney. The document was notarized in King County, Washington State. During the investigation, I found that the Metropolitan trustee listed the property tax bills for 1112 11th Avenue North, Nashville. The mailing address of the owner, Avon E. Rosenham, as 5706 17th Avenue North, Northwest. 17th Avenue Northwest, 70254, Seattle, Washington, 98127 for the years 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. December 1st of 2025, Inspector Phelps found that Mr. Rosenbaum had an active driver's license issued in the state of Washington, and on May 26th of 2026, the state of Washington issued license remained active. Mr. Rosenbaum is registered to vote in King County, Washington, with a residential address recorded as 7002 24th Avenue Northwest, number 301, Seattle, Washington 98117. He is recorded as having voted 18 separate occasions between March 10th, 2020 through August 5th, 2025. With the owner-occupied permit for 1112 11th Avenue North, Nashville, having been issued on February 28th of 2020. December 10th, 2019, Mr. Rosenbaum registered to vote in Tennessee, but the Tennessee Secretary of State has no record of him having voted here. Inspector Phelps found that the appellant was employed as an IT project manager by the government administration of King County, Washington for the years 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. The King County Department of Human Resources telecommunication policy states, because King County is a public employer, those taxpayers pay its employees' salaries. It is important that King County employees live in or near the region they serve. Additionally, telecommuting employees may be directed to report to a county workplace on or during any regularly assigned remote workday. Therefore, all employees must reside in Washington State, and within a reasonable distance to their county workplaces. Reasonable distance will be determined on a case-by-case basis by the department director based on the departmental business needs. We also found that the Washington State Public Disclosure Commission had records of the appellant's contributions to the Professional and Technical Employees Local 17 PAC for each month from February 2020, November, through November of 2020, when the owner-occupied permit was issued on February 28th of 2020. I found that Mr. Rosenbaum is employed as senior program senior program manager enterprise system at the company named Remitly, which is an international payments company with headquarters in Seattle, Washington, 1111 3rd Avenue, Suite 2100. The LinkedIn page for Remitly under the heading Hybrid Workplaces reads that Remitly were embracing a dynamic hybrid model where office-based employees spend 50% of their time each month in the office. May 27th of 2026, Mr. Rosenbaum sent an email to the Metro Department of Codes, which in part stated that he has been unemployed since April of 2025 due to a workforce reduction. December 18th of 2025, the revocation letter was sent. January 6th of 2026, on or about this date, Adam Hathcock, a.k.a. Adam Rhodes, the attorney-in-fact for Mr. Rosenbaum and the property manager for 1112 11th Avenue North, 1118 11th Avenue North, and 1052 Reverend Dr. Enoch Jones Boulevard, met with zoning administrator Joey Hargis. Mr. Hargis gave a further extension for Mr. Hathcock and the property owners of the properties managed by Mr. Hathcock to be brought into compliance with the Metro Code. February 12th, 2026, subsequent to the meeting and due to the ice storm firm, the deadline was extended on this date by Mr. Hargis until February 28th of 2026, at which point it was stated that there will be no further extensions. February 27th, 2026, Derek Strode became part owner with Mr. Rosenbaum of 1112 11th Avenue North via quitclaim deed in an effort to meet the short-term rental property owner occupied permit requirements. February 28th, 2026, the final extension deadline, a new permit had not been issued. Metro's compliance contractor chronicles those compliance tracking of the website ads for the property, recorded 4 documented stays in March and May, and 1 in May of 2026. One of the March reviews does note that the occupants were moved to a different short-term rental property. However, none of the other reviews gave any indication of being relocated. And Inspector John Phelps requested the Metro Law Department to issue a warrant to appear in the environmental court for the violation of advertising and operating a STRP with a revoked permit after a stop work order was posted on the property on March 4th, 2026. April the 10th of 2026, the Law Department filed the civil warrant with the court clerk. April 28th of 2026, the appeal was filed. Originally, the appellants were Avram Rosenbaum and Derek Strode. However, Mr. Strode did not have standing to appeal the revocation as he was not on the deed for the property at the time of the revocation. The appellant was served with the warrant at 7002 24th Avenue Northwest, number 301, Seattle, Washington. May 26th of 2026, the first court hearing, the resulting order was submitted. May 27th, our office received a letter via email from the appellant, which in part read, to the extent the Seattle apartment lease, 7002 24th Avenue Northwest, number 301, Seattle, Washington, has been referenced during this process. I served as a co-signer on the lease alongside my mother during that season as requirement of the landlord and stayed with her when I was assisting with her in care. The lease has since expired, terminated due to the evolving care needs. I have been staying with friends until I can wind down my mother's affairs and conclude her memorial. At the same time, circumstances remain fluid and unresolved. I have been unemployed since the workforce reduction in April of 2025 and actively pursuing employment opportunities in both Nashville and Seattle. Because of my future permanent employment location remains uncertain, including whether any future opportunity may ultimately require in-person presence or permit remote work, my future long-term domicile and residency plan likewise remain unresolved at this time. Under the evolving circumstances and given efforts already undertaken toward the future owner-occupied compliance structure involving Pastor Derek Strode and his family, the complete letter is included in your board summary. May 29th, 2026, the court order issued following the first hearing on May 26th was signed by the court referee and filed with the court clerk. The court order read in part, the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, Metro, filed the civil warrant against defendants Avram Rosenham and Derek Strode for operating a short-term rental without a permit and at a property located at 1112 11th Avenue North, Nashville, Tennessee, 37208. Defendant Rosenbaum was served by the state of Washington by the Tennessee Secretary of State, and Defendant Strode was served by the Davidson County Sheriff's Office. Metro provided a short history of the property to the court. Defendant Rosenbaum is on the property for a period of time, but Defendant Strode's ownership of the property commenced February 27, 2026 via a quitclaim deed. Metro asserted that that from February 27th to the present, neither defendants held a short-term rental permit for the property. At one point, Defendant Rosenbaum had an owner-occupied short-term rental permit for the property, but the Metro zoning administrator revoked that permit on the grounds the permit was not Defendant Rosenbaum's principal address or primary residence. Adam Hathcock may not provide legal representation to defendants in this matter because he is not a licensed attorney. The complete court order is included in the board summary. June the 10th of 2026, on this date, the appellant submitted a summary of his case, which was included in the board packet, emailed to the board on June the 11th, 2026, which contained numerous documents as proof of residence. With the exception of a couple of documents, they all bear the dates 2024, 2025, 2026. However, the permit was issued on February 28th of 2020. Among those documents were several images of utility bills addressed to either 1112 11th Avenue North or emailed to for Celebrate House Nashville at gmail.com. Celebrate House is the name of 1112 11th Avenue North on the website advertisements. Since Adam Rhodes Hathcock is local and manages these properties, it's reasonable to think that he receives the utility bills and is responsible for paying them. Included in the same packet is a document for MedPoint Capital LLC bearing the name of Abram Rosenbaum, and the address is 1112 11th Avenue North. However, the Tennessee Secretary of State record of this LLC that it was formed in Nevada and its principal address was only changed to 1112 11th Avenue North on August 1st of 2024. Two documents submitted were from Sequoia Insurance Company that list the address as MedPoint Capital LLC as 1930 Village Center Circle, Suite 38572, Las Vegas, Nevada 89134. The warranty deed submitted lists the owner, the new owner, Abram E. Rosenbaum's address is 5706 17th Avenue, Northwest, Seattle, Washington, 98127.
Thank you, Mr. McBroom. Do we have any questions for staff? Councilmember Cash.
Yeah, at one point in the chronology, which seemed to be like in order, there was a date that was about his voting in 2019, and it said 2019. I just want to make sure that, can you scroll back to the, like it seemed like the month was in the right place, but no. There, yes. See, it's going through and the month and date fit, but I'm just wondering if that is correct, that the vote took place in 2019. Registered, so, and that was in 2019.
But he voted there 18 times between 2020 and 2025.
In Washington.
Yes.
Right, I guess it's just, I just wanted to make sure that date was, because it just seemed.
What is the specific date to which you were referring?
That December 10th, 2019, is that correct?
I think you're asking because the date before it was 2025, right? We're saying it seems out of order.
Yes.
And the question is, was it in fact intended did you intend for the date to be a different date than 2019? Which may not.
Since it fits with the chronology.
No, that is correct date.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Kleinfelter.
So the revocation occurred in 2025, right?
Yes, but there were extensions.
Yeah, extensions to the revocation?
There were extensions that were administratively offered by the zoning administrator.
I saw that. That's what I was curious about. So the action taken, and this may be a question for legal counsel, is the revocation, is there like a notice of show cause or something, or is it revoked period. And then the zoning administrator, as is his nature, was trying to be helpful. But can you actually bring something into compliance that has been revoked without being here?
I would say staff typically tries to work with individuals. However, if you have a non-owner occupied permit for a property, you are required to be in compliance with that permit throughout the lifespan of the permit.
And the revocation was based on lots of things, the data that was in the summary there. This is back to, I guess, you, Mr. McBroom, for things that occurred prior to that revocation date, all those different dates. It was evidence that the owner did not live there. Is that right?
In the opinion of the zoning administrator, yes.
And then a last question I have is that I just want to sort of make sure that frankly, the parties know when they're talking about things, some things may or may not be all that relevant. The quitclaim deed to Mr. Hathcock/Rhodes doesn't really matter anyway because it occurred after the facts that gave rise to the revocation. It wasn't being leased by, or it wasn't being short-termed rentaled by a party who lived on the property during that time period.
Yeah, actually, the document concerning Mr. Adam Hathcock Rhodes was for an attorney in fact for Mr. Rosenbaum. Now, the quitclaim deed involved Mr. Derek Strode.
Thank you. Thanks for correcting me.
I would let I'd let staff speak to who originally the permit was issued to, but yes, the permit holder would need to be in compliance with the legal requirements of the permit.
Yeah, so there's certain things that can and can't fix it. Fixing it may be proof of the situation previously, but changing something that was revoked after the fact doesn't actually fix it, right?
I would say you're correct.
Yeah, and that sounds like a great point for discussion. Any more questions for staff? And do we have any opposition present for this case? Okay, seeing no opposition, if the appellant wants to come to the table, or appellants, you will have 5 minutes to present your case because there's no opposition. Again, if we ask questions, that does not count against your time. And if you'll just both make sure that your microphones are turned on, sounds like it's on, and then introduce yourselves, give us your name, address, and whatever you would like to share with us.
I'm Avram Rosenbaum. I have my primary residence at 1112 11th Avenue North in Nashville, Tennessee, 37208. And
I'm Adam Rhodes, Hathcock Rhodes. We're actually brothers, so that's why we're both here. I was the one that was managing the compliance for my brother while he was handling healthcare responsibilities for his disabled mother, which is why I think we're here. And I understand why Metro Codes could look at some of the evidence and come away with a conclusion that I think still is warranting perhaps relief.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Mr. Rosenbaum?
Yeah, there's a couple factual errors up there, but by and large, that's right. I did register for an STR permit when I moved here to Tennessee in 2019. And then shortly after that, my mom got sick and we got an apartment in Seattle. And I did vote there in Seattle with her. She passed away in February of this year, February 22nd. And I was up there at that address that shows so many times and working there while trying to maintain my primary residence here. I didn't own a house there. It's just renting an apartment with my mom.
Okay, do we have any questions from board members? I have some. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Also, when I moved here, with all intention of coming back after taking care of my mom, I did outreach in the community. We did cleanups. We had an open house for Christmas party, and we've always been really engaged in the community and trying to make the Germantown neighborhood a better place. And I've got letters of support from people who are my immediate neighbors that show that I've been in these community building activities and that I care about the neighborhood and the area. So I did come down and help with the March 2020 tornado cleanup and did some repairs to the property. And I'm here today as well to defend my property as my primary residence, regardless of having been a temporary resident in Seattle. So yeah, I had a driver's license. I had to drive my mom around. After 30 days, you have to get a local license in Washington to do that. And then voting is just, they do it all by paper there. And I really struggled to get remote voting or mail-in voting in Tennessee. I did apply this year, but I didn't have the documentation that they needed. So I voted where I was, like physically, but this is, again, my only primary residence throughout this whole period.
First of all, I want to say I'm very sorry to hear about your mother. So sorry for your
She had a
loss.
great life. She was 90 years old when she passed.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Okay, so I was reading your letter that you submitted to codes. I appreciate that. I must say I'm a little confused. Reading your letter, it sounded to me, or it gave the impression that you want to live in Nashville long-term, but not that you do or did or have been living in Nashville. Can you maybe give some clarity? I think, let me see if I can just.
Yeah, and
Yeah. 1 second, sorry. You talk about evolving circumstances, your future long-term domicile and residency plans remain unresolved.
Yep.
So if you can just speak to that.
Sure. So I am applying for jobs in this area, and it is a competitive market. And there are lots of opportunities, but I haven't been rehired yet. So I am trying to get either remote work or work that allows me to work in Nashville to work on site. And the reason it's unresolved is because if I don't get a job here, it makes it really hard to afford to move my stuff back here. Yeah.
Okay. And I meant to ask, do you have copies of the support letters you mentioned that you have from neighbors? If you would hand those to Mr. McBroom, I'm sure other board members and I would like to see those.
There's 4 copies.
Perfect. And if you would just give us a few minutes to read these.
Sure.
I'm going to take a brief pause unless you have something you wanted to add before we.
Yeah, so I did work at King County when I was there, and part of working at King County is the need to be there physically, but my intention is always to come back here and continue to where I came here in 2019, set up the office for MedPoint Capital, and was trying to keep that property because now I'm struggling to make the mortgage and I've got forbearance and stuff going for that. So it's being unemployed, I'm like stretched really thin and I want to be of service and I wanted to be able to stay in compliance with the STR permitting code. And that's why I asked Adam to see if I could find somebody local to occupy the property. And that's where the quitclaim to Derek Strode, who's got a congregation here that he's a part of, a leader, and it would create affordable housing for him, as well as support my residential status of the property.
May I add some context? Just, so I moved here in 2018, and I've lived here throughout the last 8 years. Abraham's my brother. I invited him to come down to Nashville and helped him find a home. And we specifically chose this SP because it allows a homeowner to have up to one employee in this SP. It's in the actual code documents. And I used to be a former real estate developer, so code and compliance matters. So I looked at that. We found this property. I also reached out and have a lot of respect for everyone in Metro Codes. So I reached out to Mr. Freybud, asked him, hey, my brother's moving here. We're starting up this business. But he still has a daughter in Seattle. At that time, he had 2 daughters in Seattle that were finishing high school and getting ready to go off to college. So I said, hey, if he does move down here, is there any requirement of how much time? Because he's going to still spend some time in Seattle. And he has a mother there as well. And Metro Codes' response was that there's no requirement for the amount of days as long as it's your primary residence. So it was both of our assumption that if it's your only home, that it is your primary residence. And so he's been a remote employee here over the last 5 or 6 years while he's been attending to some of the healthcare needs of his mom, which got worse. So when he first moved down here, he was down here more.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. That was our 5-minute mark.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry about that.
We will probably have
away
questions, so that
Thank
won't
you.
count against you. And I'm sure you'll have time to answer some questions.
Thanks.
I do want to take just a couple of minutes to read through these so that we can make a fully informed decision, but feel free to stay at the table. Mr. Kleinfelter, do you have a question?
I do have questions.
Great.
So the note, your permit was revoked, or you given notification that it was going to be revoked in December, I believe, right? Of 2025? Does anybody know if that's accurate? But there's stays in March and in February of 2026.
I can address that. When the zoning administrator offered the extensions, he allowed them to continue to operate.
Okay. Then I guess other questions are that the permit, you received a permit in 2020. And there are unfortunate reasons, but it doesn't sound like you're really challenging that you didn't live here in any sense as a permanent residence from 2020 through now, or through when? When did you move here? When did you just make this your permanent residence? And a license and voted in Seattle since for many years. Okay. So you were registered in two places?
Yes.
And you said a minute ago, you said that you were still trying to you were having difficulty registering to vote by mail.
Here, because.
Like now?
Yeah, because.
Why do you need to vote by mail now?
I don't now, but back in the spring when I tried to.
Okay.
Back in January, February, after the revocation, I was like, oh, I shouldn't be voting in Seattle anymore.
And if I'm reading this correctly, the listings indicates it's the whole house, but where do you live if it's the whole house?
Yeah, there's a there's a room on the ground floor that isn't available to the renters.
One room?
Yeah,
3 bedrooms, 8 beds, 4 baths?
those are all not the basement apartment unit where I'm not. It's not an apartment. It's a room.
I'm confused. So the 3 bedrooms, 8 beds, and 4 baths are available to the guests, right?
Yes.
And then the apartment you just mentioned, or separate room?
Oh, it was a garage conversion.
And the garage is where you live? Or the garage is where the guests stay?
No.
Garage is where I live when I'm here. Yeah,
When you're here? Okay.
like right now.
Ms. Bell?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just really confused. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to understand it. Do you live here now, right now?
Yes.
And how long have you been here?
I came in 2 days ago.
Okay. And staying at this address that's in
Yes,
question?
I'm at this address.
Okay. Okay, that's all I needed.
And where were you staying prior to 2 days ago?
My girlfriend's in Seattle,
Okay.
where I'm looking for work here in Nashville.
Okay, you're looking for work in both Seattle and Nashville, and whichever one you're able to find work may help determine where you land.
If I move back here, then I don't have to keep doing the short-term rentals because I'll be able to afford my mortgage with the work here.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that he's been a remote employee, so he's been able to work from Nashville as well as provide support for a Seattle employer, right? So that's what he's been doing. And then when Metro Codes allowed the extension, it's because of the care needs of his mother is the reason why he's been going back, right? He wants, and has always thought that this is his primary residence. It's his only residence. He's had personal effects here, which is the requirement of Metro Codes. I've stayed there at the property as well. When I first got here, there was a period where I couldn't stay in my property, and, it's my brother's property. So, the intent was always that this was his domicile. There was a period of time where he had a lease because his mom could not afford to go into full-time Alzheimer's care. So he had to stay in Seattle. And the requirement for Seattle is that if you drive someone in Seattle, after 30 days, you have to have your licensing there, which is why he kept some of that information in Seattle. Okay, and then I think the issue on the voting, what Avraham explained to me is that he took his mom to vote before she had dementia issues. And, because he had primarily lived in Seattle prior to moving in 2019, that he was just accustomed to, you bring your mom to vote, you vote. And he had missed the absentee deadline. So I'm sure you guys can appreciate that if you're helping your mom and you didn't send in you missed the deadline to be able to vote, you're faced with a question of, do you just not vote, or do you vote when you help your mom vote? And that's what he did in this case.
Any other questions from board members?
I'm looking at the pictures. I'm trying to see which one has the garage. Like, is it the Enoch Jones Boulevard, or is it the 1112?
No, it's the
1112 has a garage you can get in from the backside. It's
Okay.
not visible on the front.
Got you. Thank you.
Just to be candid, I mean, I stayed, I lived in, we had a permitted garage conversion, and I lived in the garage because, I think part of Councilmember Cash mentioned that part of the owner-occupied short-term rental is because, housing cost is expensive, right? So the whole idea behind it was to go ahead and have some ability where someone could afford a home. And it's very difficult if you can't advertise the entire home, but it's like, where do you go? So, yeah, that's the reality. Where does the owner go? And, for a period, we had an RV, and we just pop into the RV because where does the owner go? So, again, it's always been his primary residence. He's had no other primary residences. He's had this issue caring for his mom like a good son. And then, made a mistake voting, but he was always registered to vote here. He just missed the deadline.
And I never voted in both places, like at the same time.
Okay, yeah, we're not here to litigate
Yeah.
questions of voting law. But.
And I would just point, your members of the board, if you could take a little bit more, if you want to scan those letters of recommendation, because I think, this isn't somewhere where a bunch of people are coming out to attack his character or us. These are like neighbors on all sides coming together to say, hey, we appreciate you guys. Avram's
And I appreciate them.
He's cleaned up trash along that street every week, for the last, 4.5 years. And then, and so have I, that entrance to the community there. So I just, I want you guys to really understand that this isn't some, far off, owner that's got multiple properties everywhere. No, this is like a real Nashville, resident that contributes to the local community, and the neighbors recognize it as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, any more questions from board members? Yep, Ms. Bell?
Just for clarification, I did read the letters. Phenomenal. Like, good on the support on your part. So you're saying, both of y'all, you was here helping the community, cleaning up. So are you driving or flying back and forth from Seattle here? How often?
As the situation allows, and I recently with Remitly, I could work anywhere, and so I would often come here and work from here. Yeah.
Okay, and then work, do the community service, and then go back to Seattle, check on your mom.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Thank you.
But dementia is a debilitating, issue. So if you look in the medical records that were provided at the point where she had like a fall, where she broke her hip, there's.
I came here less often, but she passed away, so I'm back now.
Yeah, so there's a point as a son, if you can't afford to put your parent in a, home, at like, 8,000 a month or something, you have to figure out a solution. And that's where the apartment in Nashville came from. That's actually where he was served, was an apartment that was for her, that was no longer even an apartment for him, because when he was served there, it wasn't his apartment anymore.
Yeah,
The lease
it
had
was
terminated.
forwarded to my P.O. box that I have up there as a street address.
So even the tax, even we were going through all this, stuff.
Sir,
So
I'm
even-
so sorry to interrupt you. We have to stick to the time limits
Okay.
that we have for everyone, and Ms. Bell asked a specific question, you answered the question, really appreciate that. And we have all of the materials, we have reviewed them. Did you have any more questions, Mr. Kleinfelter? Councilmember Cash, you're good? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing at this time. Thank you so much, and we
Thank
will
you.
discuss. Question for staff, Mr. Kleinfelter.
Is there, you may not have it available, but is there a record of a permit for a separate apartment in the garage of this building?
I would have to check on that.
Let me ask you this, from a zoning perspective, can you have a separate apartment in the garage in this building?
Well, this is an SP, a specific plan, so it is all dependent upon what is allowed under the specific plan. And in addition to that, the short-term rental property ordinance dictates that you have to follow the metro residential parking, so that you have to have the required parking spaces available. I can't speak to that directly because that's not what short-term rentals does. However, the ordinance is in effect for residential parking, and they have to meet the required spaces that, for that in order to be able to convert a garage. So all of that, though, is not a short-term rental question, that's a zoning question. I can access permits, but that's not something that we actually
Understand. Thank
would
you.
enforce.
Okay, who would like to get us started with discussion? Okay, thank you, Mr. Kleinfelter.
I have no intention of impugning the applicants at all. I think those letters are wonderful. And this is a revocation one, so this is one where there's no relief. It's either yes or no, right?
That is correct.
And this is one where I'd be willing. And I kind of hinted at this, and I think you were right when you sort of noted that this is a discussion item and not, what I was trying to do was sort of lay out what are the issues that really need to be addressed. But as I see it, it's a revocation occurred. A revocation occurred for reasons that have been very well substantiated by the investigator. And there is no option for a little bit of relief or something. And we're kind of quasi-judicial here. We kind of have to decide it based on what it is. And maybe not kind of, I think we are quasi-judicial in this role. And there just was, the residency is not, I'm not convinced of the residency, certainly based on all the other things. Registration to vote does indicate, and voting does indicate typically residency. I had another point about that. No, sorry, and like I said, I don't think it can be fixed. I mean, it can't be, that's what I was going to say. I wanted to make it clear on the record. I think the zoning administrator should and does have some leeway to make administrative decisions that may stop or change something prior to when they get filed as an actual appeal. And that's great. But I don't think that while they were working through that and could have made decisions that sort of accommodates the party at that time. We don't have that, and it's here. Do I need to make a motion again?
Well, I'll just give my thoughts. I feel like we are being asked to overlook 5 years of noncompliance. And from reading Mr. Rosenbaum's letter, I believe that he wants to live in Nashville, that he would like to be here full-time, that he would like for this to be his primary residence. I'm not seeing any proof that this is his primary residence, nor that it has been his primary residence continuously since 2020 when he obtained the permit. And that is where my issue is. Reading the letters of support from the neighbors, we always appreciate hearing from neighbors, and we love to hear neighbors in support. That's what we want to see. Most of what I'm reading speaks to Mr. Rosenbaum's character and his participation in the community, which I don't think anyone here is doubting. There are a couple of letters where people say, like, I do believe he lives there. We are tasked with looking at the body of evidence before us, and as Mr. Hargis sort of described, weighing the scales. I'm seeing a lot of hard documentary evidence in support of the zoning administrator's decision, and I would find it very difficult to overcome that and say that the zoning administrator erred. Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Kleinfelter?
I wouldn't say I'd like to, but I'm willing to. I'd make a motion to uphold the zoning administrator's decision.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Mr. Kleinfelter, a second from Ms. Bell. Any discussion of the motion before we vote? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. So we've got 3 in favor, we have none opposed, and that motion passes. The zoning administrator's decision has been upheld. And if we can move on to the next case, Mr. McBroom, when you are ready.
Our next case is 2026-017, 2009 B Overby Road, Lori Nesbitt, permit application denied. The property operated as a short-term rental property without obtaining a permit. This is an R6A zone district. Only owner-occupied permits are available. This is governed by BL 2024-478, Section 6.28.030.8.5.L.7.2 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws. Upon determination by the zoning administrator or the zoning administrator's designee that the short-term rental property is operated without having obtained a permit, there shall be a waiting period of 1 year from the date of such a determination by the zoning administrator or designee for the property to become eligible for an STRP permit. And the board has discretion under BL 2023-136. February 17th, 2023, the appellant acquired the property at 2009 Overby Road, Nashville, Tennessee, 37207. December 13th of 2023, a new residential building permit application was submitted. On February 27th of 2026, the final use and occupancy letter was issued. This is a horizontal property regime, or HPR. April 2nd of 2026, an owner-occupied STRP permit application was submitted. On April 8th of 2026, the application was processed and denied for lack of primary residency, as numerous legal documents indicated that the appellant's primary residence was in Franklin, Tennessee. On April 9th, 2026, the appellant replied that she was in the process of moving into the A unit of 2009 Overby Road. She explained that she traveled a great deal for business and intended to occupy 2009 A Overby Road as her primary residence beginning April the 18th, 2026. We communicated that if she would agree to having Inspector John Phelps make a site visit and conduct a walkthrough of the property, we would process her application if Inspector Phelps was able to conclude the property was to be her primary residence. April the 20th, 2026, Inspector Phelps conducted the walkthrough and approved processing the application. The application was missing some of the required documentation. Inspector Osborne requested the applicant to submit the remaining documents. On April 29th, 2026, our office received an email complaint from a neighbor that claimed that it appeared the property had short-term rentals present at the time, and that they could see on the Metro website that the STR permit had not yet been issued. Inspector Phelps made a site visit to the property and found that the short-term rentals were staying at the property. The application was denied for operating prior to obtaining permit. on April the 30th, 2026, at the end of this summary package, are printouts of where the property could be reserved on a short-term basis on this date from the website ads on VRBO, Booking.com, Avant Stay, and Agoda. May the 4th of 2026, the appeal was filed. On June 9th of 2026, as of this writing, our office received 3 letters via email opposing and granting the appeal.
Okay, do we have any questions for staff? Mr. Kleinfelter.
This is a 2-unit structure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the application that was submitted on April 2nd, I think you'd said earlier, or maybe it was Mr. Hargis who said it, that there's a statement about certification that I am a resident of the property for which the permit's being occupied or requested at the time of the application, right?
Yes, there is an affidavit submitted with the permit package, or application package.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from board members for staff before we hear from the appellant? I said the appellant. No, the appellant. Thank you, Councilmember Cash. Okay, so if the appellant or appellants will come to the table, and do we have any opposition? Okay, so we do have opposition. Anyone who is with the appellant or is planning to speak in support, you can also come to the table, just FYI. So since we have opposition, you will have 10 minutes, and you can save any amount of that time for rebuttal. Questions that we ask will not count against your time. And if you will make sure that your mic is turned on, it looks like you just made sure. And then give us your name, your address, and tell us about your situation.
Okay, great, thank you. My name is Lori Nesbitt. I reside at 2009 Unit A, Overby Drive, Nashville, Tennessee, and I appreciate you hearing my case today.
And do you have anything you would like to share with the board about your situation?
Yes.
Okay, go on.
So the timeline seems to be accurate. It's printed up there. But some of the communications that I had back and forth, because it was always my intent to obtain the permit. And in doing so, this was a new construction. So it wasn't the line that says that, I'm trying to find it here now. In the process of moving to Unit A, it was a long process because we were building, and as we were building, I was putting the furniture in and moving in. So it wasn't like I had a weekend to move in, and then the reason why there was a little bit of time that went in between was because the gentleman that came out to do the on-site inspection, I was moving in that weekend, so he came like the Monday after. I just moved in with all my other belongings, and he approved that I was, yes, staying there. I do want to also add that I do travel extensively for work. I have a clinical research business, and it's project work, so I have to be on site when new projects are starting up and for various other reasons. And I have 2 locations that I travel to on a regular basis, which is Indianapolis, Indiana, and Gainesville, Florida, so they're both quite a distance away. And I'm gone maybe a week, maybe 9 days, typically at a time. I also spend the night with my boyfriend from time to time, so I'm not at the house. But I brought here today with me and my sister and brother, my best friend, because they can attest to the fact that I am living at the home. And
so let me just clarify before you get too deep into that. We are not adjudicating a question of residency. Codes has determined that you live there. So this hearing is not about whether or not you live there. I know we just had 2 that were.
Okay, sorry.
That's not a question for us today.
Okay.
What we're looking at is the fact that you advertised and operated the short-term rental before actually obtaining the permit.
Yes. And
so if you could speak to that.
That timeline was really within about 24 hours of each other. I got an email that said that my application was approved to move forward, And so I called the management company and said, hey, I got my permit. And they got a little bit ahead of me and posted my listing on the website. And it listed within, I don't know, 8 or 12 hours. And the guest arrived, and it was like really a day or two before I actually received the permit. Definitely my error. I should have made sure I had that permit in hand, but it was like it happened so fast. And when I did go on the management company's website, I did see that there was a permit number there. So I thought, oh, well, because it is a requirement that I have a permit for them to submit or to list the posting. And so I saw that there was a permit number and thought, oh, well, they must have gotten it off the records. But it was never my intention to go around the rules or not comply with the rules. And I was in communication as this permit process was going on. I did want to add that when the first permit was denied, Mr. Frabut said, well, I think you just applied a little bit too early because, it was like I was trying to get ahead of myself a little bit before I'd actually moved in. So that's my story, and I'll take, of course, whatever questions you have.
Do we have questions from board members for Ms. Nesbitt? Okay, take your time.
I have one quick one.
Mr. Kleinfelter.
So you received an email from staff saying that your short-term rental permit had been approved.
It said that my application was approved to move forward, and that's where I got confused because I did read it as my application had been, or that my permit had been approved, but it was just the application to move forward is the exact wording that was in the email.
Okay.
And I called immediately and said, hey, we actually had a phone call. And I said, it said that my permit was approved. And then we went over the chain of the emails, and he pointed out where it said the application had been approved.
He pointed out to you that it said the application had been approved.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to the permit had been approved.
Okay. I'm confused about that, but okay.
Yeah, well, I was too.
It was as a result of the walkthrough that the application had been approved to be processed. So we had denied it initially, lack of primary residency, and then with the site visit and the subsequent walkthrough, Inspector Phelps was able to establish that it was going to be her primary residence, and it appeared that she had just applied a little bit early. And that she was in the process of moving and intended to be in by the date that she had specified. And so he gave the inspector that issues the permits approval to go ahead and process the application. That's what was communicated and misunderstood.
Ms. Bell?
So do you have a home in Franklin? Like, do you have a home in Franklin? Do you live in a home in Franklin?
I have a home in Franklin, but I don't live there.
Okay, you rent it out, or you just have another home?
My brother and sister live in the home.
Okay, and then when did you get the email from? When did they send you the email to say, yes, you got it, whatever the language said to you that made you think that you got approved for the permit?
The day following the walkthrough.
Okay.
That was. Yeah, the 20th of April.
20th of April. Okay, thank you for that.
But at that time, did you get an email that you were missing some of the required documentation?
Yeah, I was actually emailing, requesting to be sent the link to the payment system because I hadn't done that. Mm-hmm. And I had asked a couple of times for the payment system, and then we had the renters come in, and it was for 3 days, and I've only had one short-term rental in there. I never had anything else. My neighbor approached the renters and told them that they weren't supposed to be there. And so that then got back to me that there's something up, you know, because the complaint came in, I guess.
Okay, so you knew you hadn't paid for the permit, and you knew that there was still documentation missing.
The payment for the permit, yes.
Okay, but you thought that you had a permit that you hadn't paid for?
Yeah.
Okay,
I was wondering why I wasn't getting the link to pay for the permit. It's a nominal amount of money.
So I'm looking at pictures. April the 29th is showing like it's families here in the pool. It's multiple cars. Most of these cars is out of state plates. How can you explain that? Is that like your family, your friends, or are you actually using this as Airbnb and they're renting this out for a vacation?
I would say that those were the 3 ladies that I had my first rental, that my neighbor notified you all about that.
okay. Yeah, so you're not disputing that there was one
lack of
stay
time. Yes, no, I'm not.
for 3 days when you didn't have a permit?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm not disputing that.
Got it.
It's my first time. I've never had a rental before. And again, there was some confusion on the wording of the emails, but, you know, I didn't have the physical permit in my hands, which I should have had. But like I said, it happened so fast, and I apologize for doing that.
Sorry to cut you off. Had you gotten the proper inspections from the fire marshal? Did you have any of that?
Yes,
Okay,
we had all that done.
okay. Any other questions from board members before we hear from opposition? Okay. And you will have some time left to speak to us? 5 minutes and 49 seconds after we hear from the opposition. Is there anything else you want to add before we hear from opposition?
I don't think so,
Okay.
unless you have other questions.
Got it. We may, but I don't think at this time. So if you'll just take a seat. And opposition, if you'd like to come forward. And by now, you've heard the spiel plenty of times. Give us your name, your address. You'll have 10 minutes, and questions that we ask will not count against your time.
Sure. My name's James Belote. I live at 2007 B Overby Road. It's not Overby Drive, it's Overby Road, Nashville, Tennessee, 37207.
Yeah, feel free to share your comments with us.
All right. I didn't print off these photos, so I'm just going to hold my computer up. Is that acceptable for you guys? Is just kind of give you a little bit of a visual aid?
We have photos in our packet that I believe were submitted by you to codes.
Okay.
And I would be hesitant to just look at something on a computer because we don't have a copy for the record. Legal, do you have thoughts?
I share the same concerns, and other members of the public would not be able to see it as well. It just creates record issues.
Yep. Okay, so.
That's fine.
Yeah, but we do have pictures from the stay in question that codes included that I believe you took those pictures.
Totally understand. So the photos that I wanted to essentially show, I wanted to kind of give you guys a visual picture of the way that our properties are set up so that you can understand the unique position that I'm in, how I literally have a front row seat to everything that happens at this property. So me and my wife, we have 18-month-old twin boys. So we've essentially been home throughout the entire construction of this property. We've seen everyone associated with the property who come and go. We live in a detached HPR, and so the windows in our house face the neighboring parcels. So all of our sense of natural light, all of our windows face directly into this property. There is no question that we can't look directly into it. The way that they built it legally, but they did build it up to the legal inch of where they could. So our fence ends 4 feet away from our home. Their fence begins, depending on where you measure it, roughly 5 foot 2 inches to 5 foot 5 inches from our siding, from our porch, from the side of our home, and from the windows of our living room. Immediately on the other side of this fence, there is an elevated porch and a common area in the center. It's a 6-foot fence. If somebody's standing on these porches, fence comes up to their hip or their abdomen, and it starts immediately on the opposite side of the fence. So less than 6 feet from our windows, we can see everything that goes on at this property. If someone's out there, we can hear them. If it's also the main door entrance is right there from our windows. They have plunge pools that are less than 10 feet away from our windows. They're like maybe 7 feet. So we can hear, we can see everything that goes on. I work from home, so I'm home every single day. Because of my twins, I have no social life now. I'm home every single night. I'm like a 100% front row witness to everything that happens at this property. During the entire time that I've been home and I've witnessed the comings and goings of this property, there's never been a moving truck. Every single piece of furniture that came into this property came in a box, it was new, and it was assembled on the premises. And in addition to that, every single time that Ms. Nesbitt would stay at the home, she would arrive with a suitcase and she would leave with a suitcase. I understand that she travels a lot for work. I understand that's her case. But I've never seen a moment where, you know, if you're moving from one primary residence to another, you bring your personal items or your items of sentimental value and you fill your home with that. That never happened, based on what I've seen. Additionally, if you can see the photos on the Airbnb listing, you can see that there are a lot of glass windows on the first and second floor of this property. Those glass windows are floor to ceiling, and there's no blinds. So whenever someone stays there, especially at nighttime with the lights on, they might as well be living in a glass box. And we can see everything that's going on inside the property. So there's no question that maybe we haven't observed something that maybe happened when we weren't paying attention. We never observed something because it never happened. So I've been keeping track of when Ms. Nesbitt has been staying at the property once I realized there were short-term occupants there. And I found out that there were short-term occupants because I just stood on my back porch and I talked to the people over there because nobody was staying in the front property. And these people showed up with suitcases. And in my understanding, they were either short-term rentals, which they couldn't do because they didn't have a permit, or they were trespassing. So I asked them if they knew the homeowner. They couldn't give me their name. I asked them what they were doing there, and they didn't want to answer me. And I said, "Are you staying here as a short-term renter?" And their response was, "You need to talk to the homeowner." And that was the end of that conversation. At that time, it was to my understanding, there were short-term renters. I contacted my district council member, Sean Parker. He advised me to email, I don't remember the gentleman's name, maybe Beckel, something like that.
Bonnell McBroom.
Yeah, Bonnell
That's
McBroom.
Mr. McBroom right there, Mac.
Okay, so you got my email. Because it was just like, my wife and I understand that living in Nashville, you just run the risk of having a short-term rental show up next to you. That's just part of living in the city. But to our understanding, we're not going to live next to a non-owner occupied property that's attempting to operate as an owner-occupied property. So the first time that I witnessed Ms. Nesbitt stay at the property was the very beginning of April. It was around April 1st, which she applied for the application online on April 2nd. It was right when she kind of stayed there overnight was the first time we ever saw a car, which confused us. Go ahead.
And I just want to clarify
Yeah.
again, we are not adjudicating residency here.
Yeah.
We are just looking at whether or not to grant relief from the 1-year waiting period because Ms. Nesbitt operated prior to obtaining a permit. You are free to share your comments, but I just don't want you to be disappointed or upset if we don't consider the residency issue.
Okay. So, I mean, that was essentially the main reason why I was here, to come as a witness to say, based on what I've seen, I don't believe that she is a resident there. Because I've never seen, that was mainly my point. And to confirm that they did have short-term renters there who were occupying without them having a permit. And I also wanted to state that if you all do decide to give them some kind of, probationary period, and from then I observe that they do live there, I will come back and advocate for them to get their license.
question for you. First of all, thank you for coming down here and sitting through what has been an unusually long hearing.
Yeah, it's not normally like that?
Nope.
Okay.
You just got lucky. So have you observed people who are not Miss Nesbitt staying there other than the one time that you saw the people you spoke to?
Yeah, there was a couple that stayed there for 30 days, and I know that you can
Right.
do that. But
Okay.
other than that, no, not a short term.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? Councilmember Cash.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of times about HPR, that you're in HPR. Remind me how many properties we're talking about?
So I live
how
on
many
a
units?
home, I live on a plot of land with 2 homes.
Two homes, and
They're detached. I live in one of them.
okay, we're talking today about the other,
The neighboring property is 2 homes, one in the front, one in the back.
and there's a common area.
In the center.
There's a common area that's shared.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess with 2, I don't know that it matters, but like I wondered if there are any kind of documents or deed restrictions and that's not something that Metro can get involved in because that's more of a private matter.
Councilmember Cash, I'm so sorry. We're not talking, they don't live on the same parcel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He lives at 2007. They live at, Ms. Nesbitt lives at 2009. So it's 2 different parcels.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. Just wanted to clarify that. Did you, Ms. Buffer, did you have something you needed to add? Oh, okay, sorry. I thought I saw you looking at me. Any other questions from board members? Okay, anything else you want to add before, and this will be the last opportunity?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much. If you'll take a seat, and we'll invite Ms. Nesbitt back up feel free to come forward. And if there's anything you would like to add to respond to the opposition or anything you meant to mention the first time you were up here.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add at this point.
Okay.
Do you have anything else for me? Any other questions?
Questions from board members for Ms. Nesbitt? Councilmember Cash.
Thanks. So you understand that probably because, as the chair said, and as through this meeting we've been talking about a lot today, that here we're not questioning your residency there,
Yes, I understand.
and codes is not questioning your residency there, but it does sound like you have a neighbor who's questioning your residency there, and so we're not deciding on that today, but in the future, that could be another issue that comes up if.
Yes,
Thanks.
I understand. It won't be a problem.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Nesbitt. We will go ahead and close the public hearing. And would anyone on the board like to start us off with discussion?
When did the Airbnb listing get put up? Was that in our packet or? I missed it.
I believe it was, it all happened fairly quickly.
It appears to be page 16 of your packet.
Got you, thank you. Y'all see a date on here?
I don't see a date on the
I don't know that
list.
it matters because she said that she has admitted and agreed that she did.
For the one though, right?
Yeah, but not for the 30. There was one and there was a 30-day one.
30 day
one's
is
okay.
acceptable, yep. Okay. I will say, this is a tough one for me because I understand the confusion with codes. However, she was in communication with codes and was aware that she needed a permit, was aware that she hadn't paid for her permit. I don't have experience getting things that I haven't paid for. So that is concerning for me. Again, we're not here to talk about the residency issue, but, I understand the confusion about language and semantics, but the fact that she was in communication with codes and moved so quickly to get the ad posted and then immediately had people there is just a little concerning, that it's really clear that she knew that there were steps to take. It doesn't appear as though there was diligence in following those steps.
Can I prove to you that I don't say hang them high every single time?
You sure can.
So I actually want to suggest, and I'm curious legal counsel has to say, you're right, we're not here to address residency. What I think, though, and I understand, for most of the residents who are opposing this, it's more of a council issue. I mean, I'm not saying council's done the wrong thing, because we've regulated. I've helped people understand that for years now. It is that they don't want short-term rentals here. The best case scenario for the neighbors is nothing happened for 1 year, there's no short-term rentals. If residency isn't shown, never. But under the requirements of the code, there very well can be a short-term rental under our code, for better or for worse. And I'm sure many people think for worse, but it is what it is. It's worth noting, by the way, that one is not grandfathered in a short-term rental. If the code changes, the right to rent changes, because it's not a zoning, it's a permit issue.
Well, I think state law would quibble with that.
Okay, that may be, but at any rate.
Our friends at the legislature.
They'll change it on us. Okay.
Yeah.
At any rate, thank you, Madam Chair. What I'd like to suggest as a consideration is, I do think it was a timing issue. I agree with you. I don't think saying it's fine, go ahead and issue the permit. I think like a 6-month, shortening the requirement from 1 year to 6 months would make some sense, with the request, and I'm going to raise the residency issue and say that requesting that the inspectors periodically do what the inspectors do to determine and ensure prior to the time the permit's applied for that a residency has been established, kind of thing.
I don't know if legal is that within our jurisdiction.
I don't think that's necessarily in your jurisdiction. What I would say is that, of course, if there are complaints that they would, through Hub Nashville, they would be investigated. And periodically, I believe there would be checks to determine residency, although I'll look at Bonell to tell me, Mr. McBroom to tell me. But essentially, if there are complaints about the residency, those would be investigated by the codes department.
But under scenario, I'm suggesting there won't be any complaints because there won't be any short-term renting during that 6-month period. So I was asking for inspections, and it may be that because it's not a short-term rental, but it's a short-term rental for which an application is at least been stated will be submitted. So anyway, I understand if it can't be done, it's just the idea.
Well, the application requires certain documentation as proof of residency. Under the latest iteration of the ordinance, there's very specific requirements concerning that. In addition to that, the zoning administrator in that same ordinance was given the ability to take any documentation that they find to the contrary or that is provided to them or that they uncover, or statements made by the owner that disagree with the residency at the property where the permit is being sought, that the administrator can deny it based upon that. Other than that, every year at the renewal, there's an affidavit that reaffirms that the information is correct. And also, based upon the testimony offered by the opposition today, I feel quite certain that if he is not confident that it's the primary residence at the time the application is made, that he will make that well known.
And there is still the requirement when the application comes back in however many months, be 6, 3, a year, of notifying neighbors again, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so the neighbors will get notified, and then they have that opportunity to say, I ain't been living here that time.
Let me say this, though. The notification involved in the application is much more narrow than the notification involved in the appeal process.
But it's still, it's a notice that says,
You have to contact all the immediate
well, I'm
neighbors.
guessing it'll take immediate, in this case, that they
Oh,
can
yeah.
see 6 feet away, so
Yes.
yeah.
And I see you wanting to speak. I'm so sorry, the public hearing is closed.
That's all I have to offer.
Thank you, Mr. McBroom. You're causing trouble, Mr. Klein.
I guess I would just, modify, if the notice is given, I think then there's the opportunity to, and staff will take, probably, they're human, they're going to be extra careful to look at it at that time. So I'm suggesting, it's actually ironic in a way, this is not one where operated and then revoked, because so we wouldn't have the opportunity to grant any sort of modified relief. And I do think a not approving, not saying, like I said, not, okay, here's your permit, but, and I also do think that under those circumstances, a delay, a 6 month is, that's my suggestion. I'm happy to any other number of months.
And I feel confident that the codes department has heard the concerns about residency at this location and will look with a critical eye at any future application. Councilmember Cash.
I'll just add, let's, like, the applicant, the short-term rental permit applicant, it needs to be on the applicant to be ready to prove that they are a resident. And so, like, I hear what we're saying to codes, and I think I think the applicant or the appellant here today has heard, and a neighbor has heard. So, I'm sure codes will do their job, but let's not forget that it's on the applicant of the permit to show that they are an owner or an occupant at the home.
Can I add one real quick note on that?
Of course.
It does trouble me that there was a certification made that was not accurate, but that troubles me, which is why I said I'd be, the whole range from 6 to 12 would make sense to me.
Ms. Bell.
Yeah, I want to echo what Councilmember Cash said, because it's like the first case, like it's up to the applicant to take on the responsibility to do that. And I also didn't want to ignore, like, I think we have 5 community members that's opposed to this thing. So if y'all did read through it, but yeah, so I do want to echo that as well.
Mr. Kleinfelter, it sounded like you really wanted to make a motion.
Again, I'm willing to make a motion. But for I don't know how it's phrased, but for a 6-month time period as opposed to, first of all, the permit doesn't get issued immediately. It's a 6 months, I'd like to say from today's date as opposed to the date, or does it have to be, if we're going to measure from the other date? It was April, when was it denied?
March 31st. No, excuse me. Sorry.
I believe that we as a board can decide which date we want it to be, and it doesn't have to, you can make a decision.
Say presumably that if you were voting 6 months from this date, it would fall within the year. That's within the board's discretion to grant relief.
That would be my motion.
Okay. Mr. McBroom.
But you would also need to determine whether the zoning administrator erred or did not in the denial of the permit.
So I'll make a motion. I move that we find that the zoning administrator did not err in his determination that this property was operated prior to obtaining a short-term rental permit. However, given the factors discussed and the appellant's attempts to come into compliance, we would grant relief such that the appellant may apply for a short-term rental permit 6 months from today's date.
I second that motion.
Any discussion from board members before we take a vote? Okay. Well,
there is a motion and a second.
Yes.
So you would be voting on that.
There's a motion and a second. You're free to vote against the motion. If 2 people vote against the motion, it won't pass. So, okay. All in favor, raise your hand. We need council where you don't get to see how other people vote before you. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, we have one in favor. All opposed, raise your hand. Two opposed. Okay. You were saying 8 months feels,
Yeah, I feel like that feels fair for them and the community as well as over there.
and will you just hit your microphone?
Yeah, sorry. I feel like that's just fair for y'all, or for them, and as well as the neighbors in the community that's in there, that lives around that area.
I will also second that motion. Can we consider that a motion? And then I'll second it.
We will need a motion to be stated. Mr. McBroom, yes,
Uh-oh.
sir?
Yes, you'll need, again, determine whether
Yeah.
or not the zoning administrator erred, make that part of your motion.
Yep. Okay, I'll make another motion. I move that we find that the zoning administrator did not err in his determination that this property operated prior to obtaining a short-term rental permit. However, based on the factors considered during this hearing, we offer the appellant relief such that she may reapply for a permit 8 months from today's date. Do I have a second? Okay, a second from Ms. Bell. Any discussion of that motion?
Briefly, in that Ms. Bell was talking about that she feels a certain way, and I just want to kind of also add, because courts don't like feels, and that I think in light of the evidence with respect to the certification, all the other things we heard, I think it's an appropriate motion and an appropriate resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Kleinfelter. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, we have 3 in favor and none opposed. And I want to clarify, you may apply 8 months from today. Doesn't mean you get a permit 8 months from today. You may apply for a permit 8 months from today. Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. McBroom, let's move on to our final case of the day.
This is STR 2026-018, 207 Sentinel Drive, Corina Daza. Permit application denied. The property operated as a short-term rental property without obtaining a permit. This is an RS5 zone district, and it allows only owner-occupied permits. This is governed by BO 2024-478, 6.28.030, point B, point 5, point L, point 6, point 2 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws. Upon determination of the zoning administrator's designee that the short-term rental property is operated without having obtained a permit, there shall be a waiting period of 1 year from the date of such determination by the zoning administrator or designee for the property to become eligible for a short-term rental permit. The board has discretion under BL 2023-136, September the 2nd, 2021. KCA Porter and Corina Daza acquired the property at 207 Sentinel Drive, Nashville, Tennessee, 37209. December 16th, 2025, an Airbnb website platform advertisement was posted. December 26th, 2025, the website platform advertisement was identified and matched to the property by Metro's compliance contractor, Veronica's Host Compliance. March the 5th, 2026, the address for the property was on the monthly list for February for properties advertising and operating a short-term rental property without a permit supplied by Granicus Host Compliance. Inspector John Phelps verified the advertisement was posted and that there were documented stays. Inspector Phelps sent a notice of violation. On March 31st, 2026, the ad remained posted and there were no new reviews posted for March. Inspector Phelps made a site visit to the property and posted a stop work order, documented with photos. At 4:56 p.m., Ms. Daza emailed Inspector Phelps, which read in part, "I've updated the listing to comply with the requirement 30 days minimum." April 1st of 2026, Inspector Phelps verified the status of the ad and responded to the appellant that he would close the case, but that advertising and operating prior to obtaining a permit has a mandatory 1-year wait period before she can apply for the permit. However, she has the right to file an appeal. April the 2nd, 2026, the appeal was filed. June 9th of 2026, as of this writing, there have been no additional documented stays. There were no complaints on either the Hub Nashville or the short-term rental property hotline.
Do we have any questions from staff, or for staff? Sorry, Councilmember Cash.
I just want to check on this. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm copying here with my questions, but on March 31st, 2026, I see there were new reviews. I really feel like I heard you say there were no new reviews.
I apologize if I misspoke. It is that there were no reviews. That's why the inspector went to the property and posted the stop work order.
So what I'm hearing from that is there were stays after, there's documentation that there were stays after the notice of violation was sent.
Yes, but none after the
Stop work order, okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, but it's probably assumed, but RS5 does allow non-owner occupied,
Owner occupied only.
okay. Thanks.
Yeah, as of January 1st, 2022, ordinance went into effect that there are no not owner occupied permits available in any residentially zoned areas, including multifamily.
Thank you, Mr. McBroom. And if the appellants want to come join us.
I just have letters of support from neighbors who couldn't make it. Can I?
Yeah, if you'll hand them to Mr. McBroom, he will pass out those copies. And you've heard this many times by now. If you'll just make sure your mics are on, introduce yourselves, give us your name and address. You will have 5 minutes, as there is no opposition unless they're ghosts. But I don't see anyone left here, so.
Oh, sorry.
1 second,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't want you to get, I want to make sure Mr. Kleinfelter hears you. No, you're fine. Oh, well, okay. Okay, we're good. Now, feel free to proceed. Time, when we ask questions, will not count against your 5 minutes.
Okay. Hi, I am Karina Daza. This is my husband, Casey Porter. We both live at 207 Sentinel Drive, Nashville, Tennessee, 37209. Thank you for allowing us to appeal our case today. We bought our home in 2021. We live there full time. We plan to live there a very long time. We plan to have kids there and all that stuff, but never had an intent to Airbnb or short-term rental. But my husband was laid off in November, and we, in a very quick turnaround in which I should have done more research, we're like, let's figure something out, and how are we going to pay our mortgage? And we were like, let's, post on our community neighborhood group and, ask if anybody has family visiting for Christmas or anything like that. And so basically, we very quickly, we spoke to our neighbors. We're close-knit with our neighbors on both sides. The house in front is vacant, and there is no house in back. We have train tracks. So we spoke to them. They were fully supportive and wanted their family to come stay. And so that kind of began the process for us, and I'm not disputing that we did rent the house from basically, I think it was right before Christmas, December 16th, which is my birthday. I was like, let's just, try to get something going. And so that's what we did. I really did not do the proper research on the permits that we needed. What happened was that my friend and neighbor was like, I was thinking of doing this a year ago, and I know that we're zoned for this. And she sent me like an article about the differences between owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied. And I misunderstood, frankly, just skimming, that we didn't need a permit because we were owner-occupied. And I quickly, once I got the notice, realized that that was wrong. But we did not receive the notice in the mail until we saw the stop work order, because we were traveling all through March, and I have documentation of that. So as soon as we got home and saw the stop work order, I immediately, as you can see, emailed and took it down. We've had no stays since then. Did I forget anything? I'm kind of nervous.
You're doing great.
Okay, yeah, we don't own any other properties. This is not like a thing we do, and yeah, so I know that we did it for, I think, about 3 months, just on and off, like a couple times a month, basically, because we live upstairs and we rent downstairs. We have that in the listing. And so we deeply care, not just about our community, but about our home. We live in the same, house. It's a single family house. So we really painstakingly go, I vet everybody. I don't have anyone who doesn't have reviews. I've rejected many applicants because we live upstairs and we care. So we just apologize for not doing the proper research and getting the permit ahead of time. We have not been able to host for 3 months, and so we've definitely learned our lesson, and we are requesting immediate relief. that's it, I think.
Did you want to add anything?
No, I think she said everything.
Sorry, he's along for the ride. I just,
We all need emotional support.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, any questions from board members? Go ahead, Mr. Kleinfelter.
You know I'm going to ask one. So is it two separate units upstairs?
no, it's one unit.
And so like there's stairs between?
Yeah, there's
upstairs?
stairs,
It's not like-
exactly,
okay,
exactly.
Good. And then like a second, you were out of town in March, but that was when it ended up being rented. Are you using like a management company or something to take care of the
My
cleaning and
neighbor,
such?
yeah, my neighbor goes and cleans when we're not there. We're usually there, but if we're out of town for anything, she comes and one neighbor has also offered her cleaning services, and the other neighbor also just checks on it. She's a friend, so she's like, hey, I'll come check, and we give her number for emergencies or anything like that as well.
Great, that connects a lot of dots for me.
Any other questions from board members? You don't have to ask questions. I ask a lot of questions, so it's legitimate. They're all legitimate. I just want to say, you don't have to if you don't have any. Okay. Anything else y'all wanted to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we have quiet hours, and we tell them that it's a neighborhood, you know, like, I just want to reiterate, I know I said it, but that we really do care and run this, but it is our home, so we run it like that. It's something that's, to us, is a temporary thing to tide us over and pay our mortgage, and we would be very grateful for the consideration to provide immediate relief. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Bell, yeah, go ahead.
Just for clarification, when you got sent the notice in March, that was your first time hearing anything about, but you didn't see it, right? Because I was traveling.
No.
So that's why you was.
My neighbor was collecting my mail,
Yeah.
and once I saw the notice, because I think we got back like 2 days before the notice was posted, I think we got back on the 29th, and we got the notice on our door on like the 31st, I was like, oh yeah, I got to get my mail from Z. And I went through, and that's when I do have it.
But if you saw that first one, you would have immediately got your thing.
Correct.
I do have a question. I know I don't have to. Did you all have any stays that had been booked that you had to cancel?
Not through Airbnb, but through like someone in the neighborhood, yeah, and we canceled.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
haven't
very
had anyone since March 31st.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. And we will close the public hearing and discuss. I just want to say first, y'all can stay there or you can go back in the audience either way. First of all, I think this is exactly what the council envisioned when they envisioned owner-occupied short-term rentals, was that someone would be there. That's sort of the idea of owner-occupied, really more like the couch surfing that we all saw at the beginning of Airbnb when everyone had stars in their eyes. And I'm troubled by the number of stays prior to obtaining a permit. I am heartened by the fact that the appellants did not have any stays after they learned that they were in violation, and that they did cancel a stay that they had previously booked. Also, no complaints from neighbors is something we rarely see. And so that there's not been any injury to the neighboring properties, despite the fact that there have been so many stays. I actually see that as a positive. If you've had 17 stays and your neighbors haven't had anything to say about it, then to me that says you're playing by the book and being a good neighbor. So that just for legal purposes, that's under the injury to neighboring properties that we look at. Mr. Kleinfelter, did you have something?
Of course I do. No, I agree, and I think it's important to draw a distinction between this operating without a permit matter and the one prior to it, because there's no certification of incorrect residency. The person is a resident. All those things are present here. I do have a quick question for staff. Even though we've closed, we can ask staff after closing, can't we? There is not anything available to allow kind of working something out like this. When they were operating without the permit, I understood the one before because, of course, there were people angry and objecting to it. But even when there's no objection, we just don't really have an administrative. Basically, this is here because it has to be. You don't have the ability to sort of work something out. Is that right?
That's correct, and I have misgivings about the situation that you discussed prior to this, but that was not my call. But no, the ordinance is straightforward and clear.
I want to point out that I appreciate staff having that kind of position. We have people that sometimes say, well, let's let it go, but you really can't do that. Okay, yeah, so I don't know the number, but I did a little something. What should we do?
Councilmember Cash, do you have thoughts?
I'm a little torn in that I think that they were very sincere. I think it was a mistake. I think they'll be good hosts. There's a part of me that doesn't want to give them much relief because I think they'd be good hosts for long-term renters in Nashville, which we need good landlords. But I'm kind of kidding about the last part. I'm not torn. I think that we should give we're at 3 months out almost. I would give some pretty good relief if I were the one making the motion.
What judges call time served.
Yeah, that is an option, and it's one we have considered. If that is something you want to make a motion, I would just encourage you to be clear about what differentiates this from prior cases where that relief was not offered.
Then I will make the motion that what we find that the zoning administrator was not in error, now that I know to do that, but that a permit can be applied for, let's just pick an even date of July 1, if that works. And the difference being that there's no certification issue there of residency on the application, clearly our residents. The answer is to the not having a second unit, which would be a zoning problem, that all those things are in accordance. And we hear stuff from different people. We apparently don't swear in witnesses, but we hear all these different things. All of the dots seem to connect very well here and makes very good sense without any of the sort of contrary stuff that we can kind of hear sometimes, he says on his second meeting.
Do we have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Ms. Bell. Any more discussion prior to taking a vote?
I just want to say that I'm in agreement. I don't think that they did try to do anything malicious at all. That's why I asked the clarifying question of if y'all saw it the first time, would you have immediately? And we know people travel a lot of times, so yeah, I'm in full agreement.
Yeah, and I would say for me, what differentiates this case is that there was not movement toward obtaining a permit. Like if you're working on obtaining a permit, you need a permit. If you're not working on obtaining a permit and you haven't been in communication with codes, I think that goes to the knowing intent standard that we review as well. So any more discussion, or are we ready to take a vote? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. And we have 3 in favor, none opposed. You will be able to apply for a permit on July 1st. Please do not operate prior to getting the permit issued and all of the inspections and everything. Yeah. Thank you. Staff, do we have any administrative matters that we need to address prior to adjourning the meeting?
There are none on the docket, no.
Okay. Anything else? And do I need a motion to adjourn? Okay, we're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.